let's keep the train steaming down the tracks. We are going to read part two, or about 40 more pages to go now, of Rebels, episode 11 of the Madman's Daily Unequivocal Comedy. It's about 4 o'clock now. On Friday, May 15th. And where did we leave off? Well, I was mentioning Tom Petty and how I get into that great album, one of my favorite albums, Into the Great Wide Open, produced by Jeff Lynne. It was a weirder, almost every episode I've shared has a musical component, whether it was the Kinks or Laurie Spiegel or David Bowie in the first episode. Or, well, I wrote some of the music, all the music for Jailbreak. For Man and Deer, sorry. Jailbreak could just be whatever. It's a horror movie. The Wraith's refrain, I would need someone to kind of collaborate to make that piano song and some of the other horror soundtracks for an episode like that. There might be some of that in this as well. But most of the songs are going to be taken from Into the Great Wide Open, if I get the rights to do that is. Of course, this is just my ideal version of how these episodes go, with the music leading the story forward. Into the Great Wide Open, I guess I'll just talk about it now. Again, it's probably my favorite Tom Petty album. I know he's got a lot of other great ones. A lot of people like Wildflowers. I never had my moment with that one. But as an album, I like The Last DJ as well. I like that album a lot. Into the Great Wide Open. Well, the title track's amazing. Learning to Fly. What else? The King's Road? What was that called? Let me look at a track listing of this album, see if I could refresh my memory. It's been a little while. It's from 1991. Again, it's produced by Jeff Lynne, Tom Petty, and Mike Campbell. Recorded in Canoga Park, California, Rumbo Studio. Recorded 90 through 91. And yeah, I do remember the title track music video with Johnny Depp. Eddie waited till he finished high school. He went to Hollywood, got a tattoo. It's good. Bit of nostalgia if you're from the MTV generation. That was all over MTV back then. Let me go through the track listing real quick, if I can find that here. I'm on Wikipedia. And where is it? All right. Mike Campbell, Ben Montench on piano, Howie Epstein. All right. All the Wrong Reasons. That's side 2. Learning to Fly, King's Highway. Yeah, that's a great song. Into the Great Wide Open, Two Gunslingers. In the Dark of the Sun might be my second favorite song. All or Nothing wraps up side 1. Too Good to Be True, that's a good song. Out in the Cold, All the Wrong Reasons opens up side 2. You and I Will Meet Again, Making Some Noise, Built to Last. Yeah, each song is just barely 4 minutes, about 3 to 4 minutes long. Any of these songs could have been radio hits, but I think probably Learning to Fly, Into the Great Wide Open might have been the only 2 songs on the radio. Learning to Fly is a classic, yeah. Tom Petty and Jeff Lynne, co-writers. And there's some Mike Campbell as well, listed as a writer on a couple tracks here. All or Nothing. The Dark of the Sun I use in this script. King's Highway I use in this script. And maybe Learning to Fly, we already used that one. And what is Into the Great Wide Open about? It's a rebel without a clue. Like that's the title of this episode is Rebels, because that was the soccer team I played on as a kid. We were called the Rebels, the Pennsauken Rebels, and our uniforms were just like in the script, red and white, or just all red. And that fits a horror movie too, like the blood red uniforms. And Into the Great Wide Open, let's look deeper into the lyrics there, since we're talking Tom Petty right now. Into the Great Wide Open lyrics. I learned this on acoustic, back when I had an acoustic. It's a fun song to play. It's weird, kind of an E chord that kind of just, it gets weirder and weirder as you go. I don't know how you call it. There's those diminished chords. I don't know how you really term that. But it's all based on the structure of an E chord. Eddie waited till he finished high school, went to Hollywood, got a tattoo. Met a girl out there with a tattoo too. The future was wide open. They moved into a place they both could afford. He found a nightclub he could work at the door. She had a guitar and she taught him some chords. The sky was the limit. Into the great wide open, under them skies of blue. Out in the great wide open, a rebel without a clue. Paper said Ed always played from the heart. He got an agent and a roadie named Bart. That's a weird line. That used to make me laugh as a kid, I think. He got an agent and a roadie. What are we going to call this guy? Bart. Yeah, Bart. We need more Bort license plates. Repeat, we need more Bort license plates. They made a record and it went to the charts. The sky was the limit. His leather jacket had chains that would jingle. They both met movie star, partied and mingles. A&R man said, I don't hear a single. The future was wide open. Yeah, it's a classic kind of folk song, but not really in a folky melody, but the story of, you look at Jim Morrison, that's what he did. He left home to go to college in California or whatever. I don't know if he hitchhiked to California, but a lot of people do that. Maybe that filmmaker did that. What's his name? Something Waters. Kind of makes avant-garde movies. I can't think of his first name. John Waters, yeah. Did John Waters have a story like that? He might have actually had a book about John. If I type in John Waters hitchhike, yeah, I must have heard this years ago on the radio podcast or a podcast. He has a book called Car Sick. John Waters Hitchhikes Across America in 2014. Well, I guess he did this, chronicling his hitchhiking journey from Baltimore to San Francisco. That's pretty interesting. I don't know if he did that as a youth or he did that just as an older person, but that's pretty cool. Maybe Into the Great Wide Open isn't the right song to share because it's not, I didn't use this song as a part of this episode. The King's Highway might have more symbolic relevance. Let me look up the lyrics to that. I forget how the melody goes. When the time gets right, I'm going to pick you up and take you far away from trouble, my love. Under a big old sky, out in a field of green. There's got to be something left for us to believe. Oh, I await the day. Good fortune comes our way. And we ride down the King's Highway. Something like that. I forget how the melody goes. It's been a little while since I experienced this song. No, you can't hide out in a six-gun town. We want to hold our heads up, but we got to stay down. I don't want to end up in a room all alone. Don't want to end up someone that I don't even know. Lover, I await the day. Good fortune comes our way, and we ride down the King's Highway. Yeah, it's a good song. Maybe there's one more that I'll share before I get into the story again. What was it called? Damn it. What was it called again? The Dark of the Sun. That's got to be the one. Dark of the Sun lyrics. This will be the last one I look up. It's been a while since I listened to this album, but I do consider it one of my favorite albums of growing up, and as I actually like it more now that I'm in my 40s. 91, I was still a pretty young kid. I was only 10 years old, so I don't remember this really that much. The Dark of the Sun lyrics. But when I revisited this album around this time, 2020, 2021, it kind of developed a different kind of a feeling, different connection to me. In the dark of the sun, will you save me a place? Give me hope, give me comfort, get me to a better place. Yeah, these aren't like stunning words of poetry here. Give me hope, give me comfort, get me to a better place. But that's what I mean with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. They don't care about sounding like, oh, we got to use better words than comfort. Find a better synonym, man. It doesn't sound as poetic. They're all going to laugh at me. They're all going to laugh at me. I saw you sail across a river underneath Orion's sword. In your eyes there was freedom I had never known before. Hey, yeah, yeah, in the dark of the sun we will stand together. Yeah, we will stand as one in the dark of the sun. Past my days of great confusion, yeah, past my days of wondering why, will I sail into the heavens, constellations in my eyes. I like that line. Hey, yeah, yeah, in the dark of the sun we will stand together. Yeah, we will stand as one. It's a good song. It's kind of dark. He's got to be talking about death, right? I don't know if he lost somebody. The Dark of the Sun, Tom Petty. It's hard for me to try to interpret a song with my own opinions. I have to look it up. The Dark of the Sun, Tom Petty. Meaning of song. Let's see if anything comes. This is according to Google again. It's a song about hope, finding sanctuary, and maintaining a deep connection during uncertain or dark times. It's viewed as an emotional, reflective song about standing together. Alright, that's pretty vague. I guess it's not based on a personal anecdote, something that happened to Tom Petty or somebody else in the band. Yeah, it's all pretty basic type of stuff, but I really like that song. It mentions constellations and Orion's sword, which I use Orion in this story. So that was one connection that I used Orion because that's kind of like the gateway of the universe, according to Carl Sagan at least. Yeah, so it's a dark song, but I could see it's also a hopeful song that when you go through these weird, uncertain times, we will stand together as one, all that good shit. Orion, all right, let me finish with that thought. What was I saying? Orion's belt. Carl Sagan had something about Orion's belt that I think it's where it's like the birth of stars. Carl Sagan. Orion's belt. Let me sing his name like Tom Petty. Carl Sagan, Orion's belt, birth of stars. Let me see if this is a good search. Carl Sagan often used the constellation Orion, particularly the nebula located near Orion's belt, to illustrate the birth of stars and the cosmic origins of life. Yeah, see, I did remember something. My brain's not numb yet. I'm still remembering stuff. Member. The Orion Nebula. Don't ask me what a nebula is, though. Some kind of star shit. The Orion Nebula is a stellar nursery, a vast cloud of gas and dust, where gravity ignites new stars, embodying Sagan's famous concept that we're made of star stuff. Well, that's like that Joni Mitchell song. Joni Mitchell, is it Woodstock? We're all made of stardust. Something like that. It's kind of a hippie thing. I don't know if Carl Sagan was a hippie. But I was always kind of my imagination liked that concept. That's why I made Lori's story like that. Joni Mitchell's song about stardust. See, this is how my brain is going to work right now. I'm just going from random nonsense to random nonsense, but it all fits somehow. In Lori's story in episode 2, she ascends into the sky like she's ascending into heaven with Beverly by her side, taking the shape of her son who died. And now she's in space, and her body became a constellation of stars of a woman playing a violin. That's how I ended that story. There's a connection between her character and Coach Daniels because they both lost their children at an early age. And I don't really connect the dots too much there, but I was thinking about that. Like, I already had a tragic story where Lori gets in a car accident and accidentally her son died. And now Coach Daniels is dealing with the same thing. Am I using a movie trope, the tragedy of losing a child? But I don't know. Like, it's kind of a common plot device. I considered what else could I do? Why would this coach be all miserable and drinking himself to death? A divorce wouldn't really do that. A divorce is like usually mutual, a lot of times at least, or both sides probably just want to move on to a different chapter. Why would Coach Daniels be this miserable and away from his soccer team and just drinking himself into death, close to death at this point? Why would he be in this state if it wasn't, if it wasn't for the tragedy of his son's death? So I didn't know what else to do. I think it works though. This story can stand alone because even in Lori's story, even though that's a similar device I used where Lori lost her child, it's a completely different type of a story. It doesn't really, I don't think people would think I'm being a redundant writer or something because I used that in episode 2 and now I'm using it again, the loss of a child, to lead the story somewhere. I don't think anyone would really, well, people could think whatever they want. I don't see it myself. All right, this is the Joni Mitchell song, 1970, called Woodstock. I came upon a child of God. He was walking along the road, and I asked him, "Where are you going?" And this he told me, "I'm going on down to Yazgur's farm. I'm going to join in a rock and roll band. I'm going to camp out on the land. I'm going to try to get my soul free. We are stardust. We are golden. And we've got to get ourselves back to the garden." That's cool. I like that. They're a lot different than Tom Petty lyrics. Then can I walk beside you? I have come here to lose the smog, and I feel to be a cog in something turning. Well, maybe it is just the time of year, or maybe it's the time of man. I don't know who I am, but you know life is for learning. We are stardust, we are golden, and we've got to get ourselves back to the garden. By the time we got to Woodstock, we were 500,000 strong. Everywhere there was a song in celebration, and I dreamed I saw the bombers riding shotgun in the sky, and they were turning into butterflies above our nation. We are stardust. You can't get more hippy-dippy than that. I dreamed I saw the bombers riding shotgun in the sky. They were turning into butterflies. We are stardust, billion-year-old carbon. We are golden, caught in the devil's bargain. Yeah, these are good lines, man. We've got to get ourselves back to the garden. It's really cool. I like this song. I don't really remember it. Kind of vaguely remember how the chorus melody goes. We are stardust. And I think this was like also CSNY. Didn't they like cover this song or something? CSNY Woodstock. I hate this phone's typing mechanism. Yeah, I guess that's the same song. Yeah, they do a version of this too, or maybe with her. I don't know. I forget how it is. But I don't even think they were at Woodstock. Was Joni Mitchell at Woodstock? I don't remember that. I don't think either of those bands were. But let me check. Nah, Joni Mitchell was not. She was scheduled to perform. Yeah, that's the story I heard. David Geffen canceled her appearance at Woodstock so she could perform on the Dick Cavett show. That's pretty crazy. But maybe some other Graham Nash was there and she was telling him, he was telling her about it. Maybe that's how she wrote the song. She wrote her iconic song Woodstock from a hotel room, inspired by the television coverage and Graham Nash's experience. Yeah. David Crosby stated that by writing and singing the song, she better captured the feeling and importance of Woodstock than anyone else who was actually there. Yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, that's enough of this rambling. That's actually a pretty relevant song to this story, but I don't know where it would really fit in. A song like that says, "We are stardust. We got to get back to the garden." Like that would actually fit better in Seeds of Anarchy. I had that whole Adam and Eve thing when they're naked, smoking pot. They get all naked and happy, and they feel like they're reborn in the marijuana smoke, like they're being baptized, and then they run around the apple tree naked. And I put a line in there, one of the Ramonas, she says, "Back to the garden, like back to your purest essence of humanity." That's what I was going for. Yeah, that's a great song, though. All right, let's go back to this story. Let's dig in. Picture yourself in 1990. You're in some ghost town in Pennsylvania, like Centralia, that's been experiencing a mine fire underground for 60 years, and the government came in and said, "This is deemed a toxic, dangerous hazard. You must move out." And a lot of people did. And that's where we are in this weird Seventh Mountain town at this hotel called Seventh Mountain Hotel with Jack, the creepy, the only employee of this place because nobody ever goes there. But this was before the internet had reviews, so you can't blame these people for staying there. They couldn't go online and look up the reviews, and they're like, "Hey, let's take a chance on this place." And that's where we are. We just started the soccer tournament now. They won the first game. We did notice that. The team kind of stood up for Timmy when he got knocked down. And now we're back to the soccer field to see game 2 of this tournament as Russ is gathering the team in front of their bench. As everyone places a hand over his, Russ is leading this very soft-spoken cheer. "Okay, guys, remember your positioning. Always back each other up if someone makes a run. And make sure you constantly communicate with others out there." Make sure you constantly communicate with each other out there. And then he leads them in maintain our structure on 3. 1, 2, 3. The entire team kind of lackluster cheers this. They shout it together, "Maintain our structure." All right, now the Rebels in their red uniforms run onto the field and they're up against a team in black and white striped uniforms. As the same ref from the first game blows his whistle and the game begins with Zeke passing the ball to Mac. The ref jogs by the bleachers where Coach Daniels sits a distance away from the other spectators now. Wearing his hooded sweatshirt, Coach: "Hey, ref, keep it clean out there today. No more bullshit like yesterday." The ref stares him down, then jogs off to follow the game in progress. Coach, under his breath: "That's right, prance away, you zebra-looking piece of shit." He chuckles to himself, then swigs from his flask. Later in the game, Zeke is winning the ball in the air against a taller player. He then dribbles it skillfully off his thigh to his foot, to his other foot. Then he sends a perfect pass to Timmy. It's kind of like what Zeke was doing in his bedroom when he's dribbling the ball. Timmy dribbles very slickly past the two defenders, who both slide at the same time but fail to take the ball away from him. Then he sprints towards the goal as a defender tackles him in desperation. The ref blows his whistle, pulls out a red card, and ejects the defender from the game as Coach Daniels jumps up in excitement from the sideline. Coach Daniels to the ref. There you go, way to finally do your damn job. Mac, Zeke, and Jordan huddle closely around Timmy, who squirms in pain still. Jordan, you alright, man? Timmy, what do you think? Mac, let me take this penalty then. Zeke, you sure you aren't still drunk from last night? Mac, I barely even drank any. Jordan, this is all me, gentlemen. I'll paint the corner. Timmy valiantly stretches out his aching leg and rises up in a fury. Timmy, we're seeing him as demonstrative as we've ever seen him. You remember, Timmy's kind of the wimpy kid, and he's screaming, "No!" The other teammates appear shocked by his newfound vigor and step back a little. Timmy, I'm tired of being kicked around like this all the time. This is mine. Mac, you sure, man? What about last time? The ref sets the ball in the penalty area, blows his whistle, and jogs over to the huddled boys. Ref, I ain't got all day here, boys. Mac, Jordan, and Zeke run towards Russ, who stands in front of the team bench. Mac, towards Russ. Who should take the kick, coach? The ref blows his whistle again in their direction, losing his patience even more, while Russ stares towards Timmy, stretching out his injured leg on the field. Russ, Timmy, it's all yours. The ref holds up his arm and blows his whistle as Timmy confidently strides towards the ball and bends a perfect shot into the upper right corner. He falls to his knees in celebration as the ref blows the whistle to end the game. So it was probably like 1-1 at this point, or 0-0, whatever. And this penalty kick is going to decide who wins, and Timmy is the one who becomes the hero here. You could set this up like Little Giants, like that type of a underdog. Make it all slow motion, dun, 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 like Chariots of Fire. As Timmy runs up to the ball and he hits a perfect shot to the right corner. Now his teammates are carrying him towards the other side of the field after he just won them the game. And Timmy has his Rudy moment now, while Coach Daniels pumps his fists on the sidelines like a madman. Coach, woo, that's what I'm talking about. Way to be, Timmy, you magnificent little runt. Timmy is carried towards the bleachers now, where Al, Liz, Kurt, Ruth, and the other spectators hug each other and cheer. Ramble of cheers. Timmy, Timmy, Timmy. All right, there you go. Timmy's the hero of Game 2. A little bit later that day, near the soccer fields, Coach Daniels and Russ are at a snack stand, and they're dressing their hot dogs as they sit on a bench. In the background, other soccer teams are playing games on the field. This is a tournament, so it's just like non-stop games all day. Coach Daniels, good choice to let Timmy take that kick. See, you do have natural coaching instincts. Russ, yeah, he's really made great strides this season. Coach, his first year, he could barely run one lap around the field. Out on that field today, it was like he knew it was going in the net before he even kicked it. They eat as the other games continue in the background. Russ, next game's in about 2 hours. I don't know how the kids are going to find the energy after all of that. Coach, don't worry. You were that age once, right? Russ, I think so. Coach, you ever run out of gas back then? Russ, I guess not, but I pretty much just stayed in my room all day and read poetry. Coach Daniels laughs and pats him hard on the back, which causes Russ to drop his hot dog onto his shorts, so he now wipes mustard stains off with a napkin. Coach, just keep doing what you've been doing. Seems to be working out pretty well for us. Families with small children walk by with food. Russ, why don't you come sit on the bench with me this game? Coach, are you crazy? Russ, I'm serious. Coach, I'm not about to mess up your flow. Russ, I didn't know you were so superstitious. Coach Daniel swigs his flask. Russ, well then how about tomorrow's game? I could use a good assistant, you know. Coach, I tell you what, when you make it to the championship, I'll consider it. Russ, deal. Coach, I'm not making any promises though. This might be the last time all these boys get to play together. I don't want to ruin all that with my nonsense. They turn towards the game behind them as a large roar erupts and one of the teams celebrates a goal. Russ, yeah, I just wish Willie was here. You know, in case one of these games goes to penalty kicks. He was always the best, cool and composed. Coach, yeah, I never quite knew where he got that from. Russ swipes the flask, then takes a swig, and then he makes a gross face just like the kids did. Russ, damn, Coach, you must have a cast iron stomach. Coach takes the flask back. Coach, yeah, maybe, but I think my liver is going to abandon ship soon. He takes another swig. Coach, and Russ, stop calling me Coach. So another good moment of two friends here on the bench eating hot dogs. Just to set up, excuse me. It kind of sets up a relationship that it's a relationship between two good friends who have probably known each other for a long time. Maybe they grew up together and now their kids are being, well, how can you connect to someone who loses a child? It's just too crazy to think about. So Russ is just trying to bring some levity to this. He probably knows Coach Daniels is watching these games and he's thinking of his son the whole time. And Russ is just trying to make him feel like a part of the team again, I guess. Get him back possibly on the straight and narrow, get him off drinking so much. But he's trying to do it in a very subtle way. But maybe he even wants Coach Daniels to take over the team again. I don't know. Russ is just kind of, looking out for his friend here. So it's a good relationship. But Coach is still in that type of mindset where he's still probably planning to get the fuck out of Dodge and move somewhere else. The farther he goes, he feels like all these memories would disappear the farther he goes. So it's something like that. If you really want to dive deep into these characters' motivations, that's where I'm headed here. As we go into a soccer tournament montage, and I recommend using the Tom Petty song "King's Highway" that I was just talking about. Let's start now. It's a couple of pages long, this little montage showing all these soccer games. Later in the day, we're on a soccer field as the Rebels in their red uniforms battle it out against a team in yellow and blue. Mac is plowing through three defenders like a rugby player. Now he sprints towards goal, dribbles the ball into the net, along with the goalie. Then he celebrates with the rest of the team. If that's not clear, yeah, Mac, he's just bigger than all the other kids, so he's just knocking them over like a rugby player, and they're like kind of crawling at him, and then he just like dribbles the ball into the net along with the goalie who just is trying to stop it. So he's like kicking the ball with the goalie, Something like that. Later in the game, Timmy is chesting a ball down to his feet and then passes it to Zeke, who drills a perfect shot past the goalie, then spreads his arm and makes a snow angel motion in the grass to celebrate. So that's another victory for the Rebels. Now we're moving back to the motel at nighttime as Mac, Zeke, Timmy, and Jordan are passing a soccer ball around in the parking lot using car headlights to light up the area. Russ, Al, Kurt, Liz, and Ruth join the game as Coach Daniels and Russ watch from the curb and scan Russ's notebook. A little bit, or moments later, Al picks the soccer ball up with his hands and runs through the kids, throwing stiff arms like it was a football game. He spikes the ball in celebration and does a funny touchdown dance, sending the ball through a lobby window by accident. When he bounces it, it goes through the window and breaks the window. Jack walks out from the lobby to inspect the broken window as everyone is sprinting away into their rooms. Some comic relief there, I guess. All right, as the montage continues, it's the next morning. Another soccer game is in progress. The Rebels in their red uniforms against the team in maroon and blue, as Jordan is faking out a defender and sprinting down the left sideline. Russ is calmly sitting on the bench with his legs crossed, his usual position, writing notes inside his pad as Coach Daniels paces the sideline following the action, clapping towards the kids. A patch of grass sinks down in front of him, with black smoke rising up from the hole. As he stares down curiously, then walks away to follow the game. Back on the field, Jordan sends a cross to Zeke, who dribbles by two defenders with a fancy spin move, then passes a ball to Timmy, who pokes it by the goalie with his outstretched foot to score a goal. And boom goes the dynamite. That's what it sounds like. I'm doing like sport highlights. He passes it to the man, and boom goes the dynamite. The Rebels celebrate together in front of their supporters on the bleachers, while Al smashes a beer can onto his forehead and splashes Kurt, who tries to wash it off with his handkerchief. So the Rebels are rolling along. I guess they're like 4-0 at this point. They're killing it. Maybe first place in this tournament so far. All right, let's continue a little bit later. Another game. The Rebels in their usual red uniforms play against a team in teal. As a striker on the teal team shoots the ball past the Rebels goalie and the teal team celebrates. Uh-oh. Later in the game, Zeke passes the ball towards Mac, but a player on the teal team intercepts it, breaks towards goal, and shoots it by the Rebels goalie. They celebrate, while Coach Daniels paces the sidelines in frustration and swigs his flask. So they're down, 2-0 here. Not looking good for the Rebels. Later in the game, Zeke steals the ball from a teal player and jumps over a defender. Then he passes the ball through another defender's legs, retrieves it, and shoots a laser by the goalie. Then quickly retrieves the ball and runs to midfield. You know how soccer players do? When a team is down, they score a goal late. They'll grab the ball from the goalie and run towards midfield so they don't run out of time. So now it's 2-1. Later in the game, Timmy launches the ball from midfield towards the corner where Jordan chases it down, sends it cross into the box. Mac dives and heads the ball past the goalie to tie the game 2-2. Then he leads a raucous celebration down the sidelines. So all the momentum is going with the Rebels at this point. Later in the game, a skilled teal player dribbles past Zeke and zips a shot towards goal. But Zeke catches back up, dives, and blocks it before it reaches the goal. And then Zeke rises, passes the ball ahead to Timmy, who sprints towards the goal, no one around him. He charges directly towards the goalie, then swiftly passes the ball behind him to Mac, who shoots past the goalie. Mac and Timmy take their jerseys off and run around like madmen through the field in celebration. twirling their jerseys over their heads as the ref blows the whistle to end the game, and the Rebels celebrate with their families as Coach Daniels excitedly picks Russ up off the bench, hugs him, and kisses his cheek. That's the end of this montage. All right, so some of these were like elimination games. Probably these last two. If they didn't win those games, they would have just got eliminated. It's single elimination tournament, whatever. And now they're in the championship game the next day. The Rebels came all this way, and they're going to do it for Willie. Win one for the Kipper. All right, and boom goes the dynamite. Now that night, we're at the motel bar. So you see what I'm talking about. I'm on page 50 now. There's like maybe 30 pages left. And where's all the horror? There's no carnage. There's no mythological creatures, zombies, vampires, all that shit. Where's all the blood? That's why I kind of had to build this up slowly because of this soccer angle. And to bring this team together like that. Now we're at the bar that night. We might be getting into that soon. Some of the folklore now is coming into play. But it's all in the setup. You got to set it up, man. And I'm only setting up at how this script works in my head. Once it's actually filmed, anything could change at that point. Maybe you need to add something. I guess people more knowledgeable and experienced than me would be able to provide a better explanation of things like that. All right, we're at this bar. Al is drinking a beer, seated at the bar, feigning interest as Jack is by his side. And Jack's probably kind of drunk himself. Remember, Jack's the 70-year-old owner of this motel, and he's kind of like the prospector Will Ferrell character. This is Jack speaking to Al. Al's seated there drinking, like with his eyes rolling, like, man, when is this guy gonna shut up? And Jack is talking, all right, kind of like filibustering. Everything runs on an ancient cosmic mechanical engineering, even our damn bodies. And end times are just another cyclical calculation if you pay close enough attention to the night sky. Jack is placing chewing tobacco into his mouth as he puts his arm around Al, who appears exhausted with his lecture, as Jack continues. Take this town, for example, built on mining through many generations of miners, and I mean the toughest sons of bitches you could ever imagine, with anthracite in their blood. It didn't just up and become a ghost town overnight, you know. People here worked hard and cradled the boom until the mines decided to send back a boom of their own. Jack backs away and spits out the tobacco wad into a bucket nearby. Jack, anyways, long story short, traditions have no chance to survive when there's nobody left to pass them on to. He moves closer to Al as Al inches away from him on the bar stool. So he probably has the bugs all over his beard. He probably smells. And Jack is speaking still. It's how information gets tangled up in webs, lost in the static, fried up in the clouds. Why, Caesar burnt down that library in Alexandria back in the day. He walks away as Al sighs in relief and drinks the rest of his beer. But Jack isn't finished. Jack continues from the door. Day will come soon enough when men won't notice their souls being snatched right out from their insides because they forgot there was a soul inside of them to begin with. He pauses at the door and runs his hand through his beard. Jack, the celestial hunter comes for us all, whether we're ready for him or not. Again, going back to Orion, the celestial hunter of the universe. Al gladly watches him exit as the bartender fills up his mug. Bartender is mockingly saying this. Jack speaks to the stars. He smiles towards her. Al, they ever speak back? Bartender, I don't know. Maybe you should ask him next time. Al, hopefully he's right and the world ends before our paths cross again. Al drinks his beer as Russ, Liz, Coach Daniels, Kurt, and Ruth enter the bar together. Al, hey, there he is. Al rises and shadow boxes onto Russ's chest. Al, Coach of the Year, ready for your Hall of Fame speech? Russ grins and sits down at the bar embarrassed, while Liz, Coach Daniels, Kurt, and Ruth order drinks. Russ, we haven't won anything yet. Al, stop with the humble routine. Championship is as good as ours. And you got Big Al's guarantee on that one. No force on heaven or earth can stop us now. Or can stop the rebels now. That sounds better. He motions to the bartender. Al, hon, round of your finest whiskey. Bartender, we only have one kind. Al, that'll do. So all they have is like the cheapest whiskey. There's no top shelf in this fucking bar. Al, that'll do. She prepares the shots as Al puts his arm around Russ. Al is singing, we are the champions, my friends, dun dun dun. And we'll keep on fighting until the end. The bartender places the shots in front of them. And she's mocking Al now. Oh, quite the singing voice. Al, why, thank you for noticing, my pretty. He passes the shots to everyone. So Al's like pretty drunk at this point himself. Al's holding up his shot glass and he's going, to the rebels. They all cheers together and they drink. Bartender, couple more shots and you'll be ready for karaoke. Al, now there's a solid goal to work towards, or at least an excuse to keep drinking. She pours more shots of whiskey. Russ, I really should get a good night's sleep. Al, come on. Big game isn't until noon. Plenty of recovery time. Plenty of recovery time. Coach Daniels drinks his shot, then pats Russ on the back. Alright, that was Al saying, come on, big game is until noon. Plenty of recovery time. Coach Daniels drinks his shot, then he pats Russ on the back. Coach Daniels. Yeah, Coach, don't post. I'm sorry, this is Coach Daniels speaking. To Russ, so he's calling Russ Coach. Yeah, Coach. Don't poets like you aren't poets like you allowed to get wild now and again? Liz drinks her shot and smirks towards Russ. Liz, since when did you become a poet? Russ gives in to the peer pressure and drinks his shot. Russ, I guess I can hang for just a little while, but no more shots after this one. Al grabs the bottle off the bar and pours shots for everyone. Al, sure thing, Coach. Alright, so all this was just they're trying to peer pressure Russ, Coach Russ, to stay for a couple drinks, even though the championship game is tomorrow. Alright, a few hours later now. So that was like the beginning of the night, I guess. Was it really night or evening? That was night, yeah. So that was early night. This was like maybe around 11 or 12. Russ, Al, and Coach Daniels are drunkenly swaying back and forth on stage as they try to get through a version of Into the Great Wide Open by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers on the karaoke machine. So they're all drunk as shit. Russ, Al, and Coach Daniels are singing together. Into the great wide open, under them skies of blue. Into the great wide open, rebel without a clue. Yeah, have fun with that one. Russ steps down to drink a shot of whiskey from a nearby table, but he passes out onto the floor. He can't hold his liquor too well, while Al and Coach Daniels continue their drunken performance on stage. Al and Coach Daniels, into the great wide open, under the skies of blue, into the great wide open, a rebel without a clue. Liz is hooting towards them, seated next to Kurt and Ruth at the bar, as they continue rocking out on stage. Liz, man, I wish someone was recording this shit show. Kurt and Ruth are sipping their drinks in embarrassment as they eye each other. Ruth, what a bunch of idiots. On the next page, 53 now. Moments later in the bar, Kurt and Ruth are now on stage, swaying together, singing comically high-pitched harmonies to I Shot the Sheriff by Bob Marley and the Wailers, with the karaoke machine in front of them. Kurt and Ruth singing together. So they're taking it like way too seriously, like they were on Soul Train or something. I shot the sheriff, like a real Step Brothers. The scene in Step Brothers in the car when the whole family's singing Guns N' Roses, Sweet Child of Mine with the harmonies. And I forget the guy's name. The guy who plays the dad's like kind of criticizing their pitch, their little flat there. Kurt and Ruth are taking this way too seriously. They're singing, I shot the sheriff, but I didn't shoot the deputy. Oh no, I shot the sheriff, but I didn't shoot no deputy. And they're like doing a choreographed dance routine. All right, we're leaving the bar now as all the parents are getting sauced and singing karaoke. We're off to the woods, into the woods, and we're near an old mine somewhere nearby as Zeke, Mac, Timmy, and Jordan are walking through the high grass under a bright sea of stars. Yeah, the cool thing about the country, like I said before, is you can see all the stars so clearly. And you don't really get that if you live in a city, especially. All right, Timmy's going to start this dialogue. Timmy, this really could be our last game together as the Rebels. Jordan, we got to make it special then. They notice black smoke rising out of a crevice an inch closer until they find a bloody, decapitated deer's head, then jump back in fright as demonic howls echo from below. Maybe that's Uncle Freud, the decapitated deer from Man and Deer. Mac is saying, oh, come on, not this shit again, because he experienced this with Timmy already. The black smoke rising from the crevice and all these weird demonic howls echoing from below. Now, the four boys are sprinting away in a panic as Jordan says, what happened to all that bullshit land talk? Mac, all I said was I didn't want to live in bullshit land. Zeke, we should go back to the motel. They catch their breath behind a tree and spot an old mine in the distance. So they creep towards it. Mac, whoa, check it out. Moments later, nearby, Grigor is sitting on a high chair like a throne, eating a raw deer leg as fresh blood smears all over his lips, while the three bikers eat each other's, are also eating deer remnants. Grigor, he's speaking in Romanian. I'm just going to speak the English translation here, but whenever these bikers are talking, they're speaking Romanian language. Grigor, there is no one to bother us here. Biker 1 is drinking a bottle of black liquid and staring towards him. Biker 1, there are other places to survive. Grigor tosses the deer leg aside and stares at the stars. Grigor, we survive only by the stars. Biker 1, that is all in the past. Grigor, there is no past. So Grigor is the leader here, and these other bikers are like, what are we even doing in this small fucking town, man? There's no action here. Grigor, get us out of here, Grigor. All right. Grigor rises, sticks his hand directly into the fire, then marches directly into the flames, only to emerge a few seconds later in perfectly normal condition. So he's setting himself on fire, and then just to show that he's some kind of spirit, demonic force or something. Grigor, we stay here until the stars tell us otherwise. Zeke, Mac, Jordan, and Timmy are watching these bikers hidden behind some bushes with a stunned expression on their eyes. Timmy is whispering, "Man, what are they?" Mac also whispering, "I don't know, man, but they're pretty badass." Moments later, by the old mine entrance, Zeke, Mac, Jordan, and Timmy sneak into the old mine. As smoke is rising from cracks from the ground, Zeke is whispering, "Guys, this is crazy." Jordan, "Yeah, maybe we should go back." Mac, "Chill, you guys have no sense of adventure." They all tiptoe towards a candlelit opening and peek their heads in, where 7 young pregnant women lean against the wall, chains around their arms and legs. Young pregnant woman, "Please help us." Dozens of black bats dart out of an opening as the boys scamper away in a panic, then pause to catch their breath near another dimly lit opening. Mac, while panting, "Okay, maybe you're right. We need to get the hell out of here." Zeke, "Now you come to your senses." A muffled growling rumbles from the opening as Timmy grabs a torch off the wall to light up the area, illuminating a 9-foot tall cyclops chained at the ankles to a bolted steel plate on the ground. The one-eyed monster stares them down, then growls, exposing massive teeth, slobbering all over the boys. He dives towards them as they sprint away, but the chains slam him hard onto the ground, causing a mini quake through the mine. They sprint towards the entrance past the chained pregnant women as dust rains down from the rumble. Alright, if this wasn't a season of Stranger Things, this would be early on. These boys find this mine with the fucking Cyclops monster and all these pregnant women, 7 pregnant women chained inside. My thinking is the same as the Nephilim story, where these mysterious creatures are impregnating women, getting them pregnant. It could be that Cyclops, it could be other ones, it could be these bikers, I don't know. It could be all of the above. They're trying to form more ancestors like them, build a stronger tribe. Maybe they don't have a lot of women in their circles, so they're just having sex with human women. And these are like just kidnapped women that go missing, and you never find these women, but they're really used for purposes that nobody really could understand. My thinking is, yeah, just like the Nephilim were the children, the giants of the angels and the women having sex, it's something to do with that. If this was a total Stranger Things season based on that storyline, then you could really build upon it and get all detailed with it. But I didn't go that direction. Why were those bikers in the beginning going to steal or trying to kidnap Willie? Well, they like to have male ancestors too. They could bite him, turn him into a vampire. That's where all the missing children go. Kind of similar to the Lost Boys, but you know, that's not exactly the same thing. All right. Continuous now. The boys are running out of the mine covered in dust, but they freeze in front of Grigor and the 3 bikers who notice them and block their path. Grigor, "Have you boys lost your way?" He pulls a hunting knife from his pocket, cuts off a large chunk of his tongue, and tosses it towards Zeke, who stands frozen in fear as it hits him on the chest and slithers on the ground like a snake. Grigor, "Nothing to be afraid of. The body, just a vessel." He opens his mouth wide, and his tongue regenerates fully before their eyes. As the boys sprint away screaming, Biker 1 prepares to launch his axe towards them, but Grigor calmly pulls his arm back. Grigor, not in the stars. Actually sounds better in Romanian. It would sound more creepy. It's nu in stella, not in the stars. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it could sound cooler in a foreign language. So yeah, the stars are directing these people towards this little town for some reason, which we're going to get to soon. All right, now the boys are running. They've been running as fast as possible away from this wooded area in the mine, and they come across an abandoned building and a dumpster, so they hide behind it. It's kind of near the motel at this point. And they're staring down the dark, quiet street, looking if anyone's following them. Timmy, I don't think they followed us. Jordan, how do you know they won't just turn into bats or something? Mac, he's right. They could fly back to our homes, snatch us up when we least expect it. Jordan, so what do we do then? Zeke, we need to get help. Mac, nobody's gonna believe us, man. Timmy, you should have pocketed that dude's tongue. Zeke sits down against the dumpster, still catching his own breath. Zeke, all right, listen up. We're going to play the championship game tomorrow. Once we get out of this freak town, we'll call the police. Tell them about the mine and everything. Mac, forget all that. Just call in the damn army. Nuke this whole area. Zeke rises up and walks away. Zeke, come on. Let's just get out of here before anything else weird happens. The other boys follow him. Mac, why couldn't they just have this damn tournament at the Poconos? Alright, so we finally get some creepy moments there. Some moments of suspense. We see these chained up pregnant women. We see this Cyclops monster that's like 10 feet tall with one eyeball and massive jaw and teeth. And we're beginning to notice, this place, something weird is going on here. Who are these bikers? Are they fucking vampires or what the fuck, demons? We're starting to get more into this story now. But what are these boys supposed to do at this point? Tell their parents, we just saw a bunch of monsters in the woods. It's similar to that same thing I did in Jailbreak with BB when he sees the officer and he's like, there's a crazy ice cream man. And the cop is just like, sure, BB, crazy ice cream man. What is he? A doppelganger demon who can take the shape of your friends and kill their parents and pretend. Yeah, no, the cop's just going to be like, go home, you stupid kid. So, yeah, these kids are smarter. They're like, what are we supposed to do? No one's going to believe us. So they're just going to play their championship game because they're still trying to win this tournament for Willie. And then when they get home, maybe they could figure something else out. All right. We're back to the motel later that night as Zeke, Mac, Jordan, and Timmy run towards the motel and they see Coach Daniels walking towards his room with the beer bottle. He opens his door and they all sprint inside his room ahead of him. They rest against the wall, completely exhausted, and they're gazing out the window. Zeke, hey coach. Coach, you boys okay? Jordan's playing it cool. Yeah, just a little nervous about the game tomorrow. Coach, yeah, no need to be nervous. Coach Russ has everything under control. Quick cut to the bar as Russ is drooling on the bar now. He's still passed out on a stool. So he's like passed out on the bar as Al drinks a beer next to him, equally impaired but still conscious. Al slurring badly. You ever want investment advice, you let me know. I got a guy who knows a guy on the Wall Street. Whole internet thing's gonna explode, man. You gotta get in now. it's almost too late already. So remember, this is 1990. If you could go back in time to 1990, you would put all your money in Google, even though it probably didn't exist yet. I don't know if Google did. So it's the beginning of the internet bubble in 1990. Al's gonna belch very loudly now and he's massaging his beer gut. Al, well, I think I've had my fill. He unbuckles his belt and exhales in relief. Al, I'm about to burst. Now, through the front door, near the outside front entrance, the heavy footsteps of biker boots approach the front door, and they walk inside as Grigor enters the bar with his three bikers, as Liz sings a drunken but soulful version of Joey by Concrete Blonde on stage. Liz is singing on stage all drunk. But if it's love you're looking for, then I can give a little more. And if you're somewhere drunk and passed out on the floor. That's a good song. I heard that a couple years ago and I was like, man, that's such a catchy chorus. Concrete Blonde. That whole album's good. Check it out. So Grigor is now strolling by the bar and he's playfully smacking the bartender on the ass. Then he's drinking from a bottle of whiskey as she returns the favor and pats him on the ass. So they're obviously connected. They're all bikers of the same tattoos of the weird Cyclops eye on fire and bat wings and the same leather jackets that say the Ace Allure Kazuti. So even the bartender's a part of this. Okay. Now Grigor is walking towards Liz on stage as she performs more of the song. He stares deeply in her eyes, steps onto the stage, grabs $100 bill out of his pocket and stuffs it inside her cleavage. Well, Al notices and nudges the sleeping Russ to wake him. Al, hey Russ, looks like Liz made a fan. Russ wakes up and recognizes Grigor from the gas station as he's dancing with Liz on stage sexually and tossing more $100 bills at her. Russ, what the hell? So Russ is still out of his mind drunk and he's like, what the hell's going on? He stumbles onto the stage and taps Grigor on the shoulder. Russ, sir. Grigor ignores him and dances closer to Liz as Russ shoves him from behind. Russ, excuse me, hey, that's my wife, asshole. Liz stops singing, out of her daze now, as Grigor kicks the karaoke machine over and breaks it as the music stops. Then he turns his head towards Russ. So Grigor is like twice the size of Russ. Like he's just massive fucking dude. Almost a giant himself. Grigor, she's your wife? Biker 1 locks the front door at this point as Grigor inches closer to him. Grigor, tonight I make her mine. The other three bikers approach Russ from behind as Al rises and grabs an empty beer bottle, preparing himself for whatever comes next. But his pants are coming down now because he unbuckled his pants. They're like falling down. He's all drunk and just holding the knife with his pants around his ankles in his underwear. As Kurt and Ruth walk behind him and notice the tension, Kurt, quietly to Al, I think maybe we should get back to our rooms now. The rising tension on stage finally breaks as Grigor puts his arm around Russ, and laughs maniacally. Grigor, I am just kidding, my friend. He leads him back to the bar. Grigor, come now, drinks on me. Liz is picking up a handful of $100 bills off the stage, and she's stuffing them in her shirt. Then sits by Kurt, Ruth, and Al at the bar, as Grigor winks at the bartender with a nervous Russ by his side. Grigor, to Russ, come, we honor our new friendship. She pulls out a bottle of black liquid and pours shots for everyone. Grigor. Very special family recipe. Don't worry, it won't do any permanent damage. He laughs and then drinks his shot as Russ appears hesitant. Russ, I really shouldn't. Grigor, you wish to insult my people? Russ takes the shot, then tries his best to keep it down as he forces a smile and then gives a thumbs up. Russ, yeah, really good, really good. Grigor pats him hard on the back, then pours another shot and holds it up towards everyone at the bar. Grigor, drink to the blood of our fallen. Everyone else drinks with him, like all the other bikers and the bartender. And then Grigor says, sober life can wait for the grave. He reaches over the bar, fills up a glass mug with beer, and then chugs it. Then shatters the glass on the floor as the three bikers do the same and salute. So they're just breaking the beer mugs. Grigor, renewal from the stars, reborn in chaos. He's saying that in Romanian. Now he's gripping forcefully onto the back of Russ's neck and whispering into Russ's ear. Don't ever forget the natural order. Russ stumbles to the floor as the room spins around faster and faster in his perception until he falls over and passes out. So everyone is taking this black liquid, this mysterious black liquid. I'm planning to write a sequel to this episode. I have an idea for it regarding the mystery of this black liquid and what the fuck was it? Some ancient psychedelic thing? I don't know. I have a good idea for an episode for maybe next season of this show regarding the bikers and their history and their backstory and what the fuck this black liquid is. All right, let's continue. We are outside of the bar in the daytime now. So we left that night with Russ passing out on the floor, everything blacked out, and now the sun's up. The next morning on Jack as he walks towards the front door whistling the melody of The End of the World by Skeeter Davis. Love Skeeter Davis. So he's whistling that to himself, kind of in a happy morning type of a style. He walks inside the bar now, still whistling to himself, and he's stepping on the broken glass as the three bikers are sleeping on top of the bar. Jack, damn it, I told you boys to at least keep this place presentable. I'm too damn old to keep cleaning up your messes. The bikers just snore and drool on themselves as he walks by. Now we're going to the back of the bar to a maintenance room. A little bit later, a maintenance room. Russ is waking up confused as Liz is asleep next to him, as Kurt sleeps against the opposite wall. Ruth is drooling all over him. Russ stares curiously towards Al, who's sharpening a broomstick using a small pocket knife, forming a sharp stake with bloodshot eyes like he never slept at all that night. Al, morning, coach. Russ, what the hell happened? Al, you don't remember? Russ, I can't remember my name right now. Al, the bikers locked us in here. He sharpens the stake some more and blows off the wood shavings as Russ gently taps Liz on the shoulder. Al, but they aren't just any ordinary bikers. Russ checks his watch. Russ, oh my God, the game. Why didn't you wake me up earlier? Al, I tried, but don't worry. I've been preparing. He lifts up 3 other broomsticks, all with sharp stakes at one end, while Russ gently shoves Liz again. Russ, Liz, wake up, wake up. He shakes her harder. Russ, Liz. So Russ is the first one to wake up, and Al's in like this manic state. He's sharpening broomsticks like stakes, vampire stakes, like that type of shit. and he's looking all crazy. Now we're back in the hallway as Jack is walking towards the maintenance room, whistling to himself as he grabs his large ring of keys. Inside the maintenance room, Russ is now slapping Liz in the face, trying to wake her up. Russ, Liz, wake up, Liz. Liz finally opens her eyes, confused. Liz, what the hell, Russ? Did you just slap me? She slaps him on the face back, then puts her hand on her forehead. Liz, Jesus, I haven't felt like this since high school. Al grins, satisfied with his broomstick steak. So he's just grinning to himself as he sharpens the broomstick into a wooden stake, and then he places it down with the others. Al, it must have been that black drink. Russ, what black drink? Al, I told you, those mutant bikers drugged us. I just can't figure out what they want, or why it didn't affect me at all. Russ, what are you talking about, Al? And just what the hell have you been doing all night? Al pokes his finger into Russ's chest. Al, you better get with the program, Russ. I saw one transform himself when they brought us all in here. The sound of keys clanging echoes as the doorknob turns from the other side, while Al grabs a broomstick stake, then hands one to Russ and Liz. Al is loudly whispering, I don't know exactly what kind of beings they are, but I've watched enough movies to have a general idea. Liz, would you please limit your crazy talk until my brain turns back on? Al, it's not crazy talk, Liz. He ties a rag around his head like a karate headband and practices stabbing motions with the stake as they stare towards the doorknob as it rattles. So Al's ready for all-out war here. He's got his stake in his hand, and he's doing like karate moves. Al, just follow my lead. All right. At the same time, Jack is finally finding the right key and placing it inside the keyhole, just as Grigor grabs him from behind and twists his neck all the way around until his head is facing the other direction like an owl. So he totally broke his neck and killed him. He slams his corpse against the door, then locks it and drags the corpse of Jack down the hallway as he says quietly to himself, you are released. Santeti ileber. He says it in Romanian or whatever. I'm pretty sure this is Romanian. I think that's what I decided to use. But it means you are released. So Jack has been working with these bikers, or at least allowing them to hang out there or whatever. But now they don't really want him around anymore. All right. So goodbye, Jack. You were a good character, buddy. Now we're in the maintenance room around that same time, moments later, as Russ, Liz, and Al stare towards the doorknob. They're all wielding their broomstick stakes, ready for action. Liz is saying, what the hell was that? Because they heard something happen, the corpse of Jack fall onto the ground outside. After a few seconds of silence, they lower their stakes in relief. As Liz walks to Kurt and Ruth and nudges them, Liz, hey guys, wake up. Hey, wake up. She kicks Kurt in the nuts as he finally awakes, gasping for air, as Al paces around the room with his bulging eyes. Al, we need to make a plan of attack. I think they might be saving us for dinner. Liz kicks Ruth in the gut as she wakes in pain and rolls around on the floor. Liz, sorry, Ruth. You can get me back later. Now, near the bar at the same time, or outside the bar, outside the front entrance, Coach Daniels is walking towards the bar, badly hungover himself, as Zeke, in his red uniform, tugs on his shirt. Zeke, come on, Coach. Game's in like 20 minutes. Coach Daniels, this is where I last saw everyone. He gazes through the front window at the now empty bar. Inside the bar, at the same time, Jack's mangled corpse sits underneath the window, just out of his line of sight, as Coach Daniels peers in from outside. So he's staring inside the bar window from outside, but he doesn't see Jack's fucked up corpse underneath. Moments later, Coach Daniels and Zeke walk around the building, and Zeke is trying to get him to take them to the game. Maybe they left for the game already, Coach. Without you? Besides, the cars are still here. Zeke, maybe they walked. I don't know. We'll figure it out later. Zeke grabs him by the shirt and stares into his eyes. Zeke, we have to win this game. For Willie. Coach Daniels ponders for a few moments, but he's like being convinced by Zeke's passion here. We're going to win this game for your son. Coach Daniels, all right. But I'm coming right back here if they're not there. They hurry away towards the parking lot. All right. Now, back in the maintenance room, Kurt and Ruth are standing by Al as Liz and Russ are trying to bust open the door. Ruth, will you just shut up already, Al? Al, I'm telling you the truth here, Ruth. We're dealing with some kind of ancient, demonic, blood-sucking scum. Russ frantically searches for something to ram the door with, and then he finds a large pipe hidden behind the storage closet. Kurt, whatever those things may be, we need to get out of here. What if they go after the kids? Al, now you're thinking, Kurt. Best defense has always been a good offense. Or is it the other way around? He grabs Ruth and Kurt by the shoulders. Al, listen, if either of you get bit and morph into one of those soulless mutants, I'll put you down. Or don't worry, I'll put you down. Ruth, thanks, Al. Really appreciate the sentiment. So she's being sarcastic. Al's the star of this show at this point. Al's like the funniest character to write here. He hasn't slept all night and he's all fucked up. He's probably still drunk a little bit. And he's like, I saw them, for some reason the black liquid didn't affect him. Maybe it doesn't affect certain blood types or something. That's what I'm thinking if I make a sequel to this story. These bikers that go town to town and they try to drug people, and maybe certain blood types are resistant to this potion or whatever. And that's why Al didn't pass out with the other people. But he's like, if either of you get bit and morph into one of those soulless mutants, don't worry, I'll put you down. I'll kill you myself. And Ruth is like, thanks, Al. Really appreciate that. So Al's leading the charge here. It's kind of fucked up story, but he's such a funny character here. Zeke is sprinting out of his room now. A little bit later, moments later, in the parking lot. He's sprinting out of his room, tossing the minivan keys to Coach Daniels, who gets in the driver's side. Zeke, let's go, guys. Zeke gets in the passenger side as Mac, Timmy, and Jordan run out of Coach Daniels' room in their Rebels uniforms, putting on their shin guards and cleats. They quickly get in the back of the minivan as Coach Daniels keys the ignition and speeds out of the parking lot, only to brake a few moments later. Coach, wait, I can't be driving you boys. My license is suspended. They all lean towards him aggressively, and they say at the same time, Zeke is saying, we got like 10 minutes, Mac. Damn it, Coach. Timmy, burn rubber. Jordan, I don't think this stupid town even has any cops. Coach Daniels is like, all right, I'm going. So he speeds the minivan recklessly down the dirt road. Back to the bar, maintenance room. Al, Russ, Ruth, and Kurt, and Liz are using the large pipe to ram the door, shouting wildly with every thrust. Al, We don't know exactly what we're going to find when we get out there, so be prepared for anything. Kurt, wait, just what is the plan here exactly? Liz, Ruth, and Al at the same time. Shut up, Kurt. So Kurt's like, what are we doing? What is the plan here? And they're all saying it at the same time. Shut up, Kurt. They rammed the door open finally and grabbed their weapons from the floor. Al's stake is now specially designed, with his pocket knife wrapped around the opposite end with some rubber bands. So one end is a stake, the other end's this pocket knife blade, kind of rubber band to the end to make like a crazy weapon. He leads, Al is leading the screaming charge down the hallway, weapons at the ready. They pause in front of the empty bar and cautiously scan the area, then creep towards the front door, where they notice Jack's mangled corpse, now missing an arm. They look at each other in shock and scream, and then they sprint out, terrified. They sprint out of the bar and dash out into the bright sunshine, wielding their weapons. Then they scan the area, standing in a circular defensive configuration. So they just saw Jack's mangled corpse. His arm is missing. His head's turned the other way. They're like, all right, maybe Al's telling the truth here. And Al begins this dialogue. We should be safe out here if that whole sunlight thing is true. They creep towards the motel and spot the bartender crouched down by a small wooden shed in the shadows as Kurt runs towards her, and the rest of the group maintain their defensive positioning. Ruth is saying, Kurt, what the hell are you doing? As Kurt is walking towards the bartender, and he's saying, Miss, we need to call the police. It's an emergency. She turns towards him, but now she appears as a hybrid vampire, part human, part vampire, so she can be in the sun without dying. So yeah, she's probably one of the women of the past that these vampires had sex with, gave birth to this half human, half vampire, so like a half-blood. So she's out there and she's munching on Jack's severed arm with blood all over her lips and teeth, while Kurt is just in shock, like kind of paralyzed. Kurt, oh, that's okay. I'm sorry to have interrupted your meal. Grigor calmly steps out of the shed and grins towards him just as she spits disgusting bits of Jack's flesh onto the dirt. Grigor, I told her that meat was no good. Kurt weakly flings the metal pipe at him, then runs back to join the others. So he doesn't know what to do. He just throws the pipe towards Grigor, like a really girly throw. Then he runs back to the others as Grigor catches the pipe, bends the metal in half, and launches it far into the sky like Thor. So it just disappears in the clouds. Then he creeps towards the group. Grigor, how would you like this day to end? The group maintains their defensive stance, stakes at the ready. Grigor, any preferences? He cracks his neck. Grigor, I guess we let the fates decide. He growls towards them with his grotesque teeth as his face morphs into a hybrid vampire. So he's one too. None of these are like pure blood vampires. They're descendants of vampires, but they're not pure blood. There's some kind of a mixture of human blood and vampire blood. So they can be in the sunlight without burning up to ash. But they also have the vampire DNA inside of them, so they can do all that crazy shit. That's as far as I can really go with that type of a storyline. I don't know if I guess they're still immortal, but they also have some human elements inside of them. All right, moments later, Al, Russ, Liz, Ruth, and Kurt are sprinting towards their cars in the parking lot, wielding their weapons. Russ, where's the van? Liz, Coach must have driven the kids. Kurt checks his pockets. Kurt, I don't have my keys. Al, come on, everyone, hop in. They all hurry inside his station wagon. Al, Russ, and Liz are squeezed in the front, and Kurt and Ruth are in the back. Ruth, get us the hell out of here, Al. He keys the ignition and kisses the dash as the engine roars. Al, speaking to himself quietly, thank you, sugar. Screw all those horror movie cliches. Because, you're expecting him to get in the car, start it up, and it's not going to work. But this time it actually worked on the first try. So he backs the station wagon up just as Biker 2 and 3 jump on the back of it. They're also appearing as hybrid vampires now. They break the back window and they expose their teeth to Kurt and Ruth. They're kind of like kicking their feet at these people, at these hybrid vampires. As Al is speeding through the parking lot onto a grassy field, now he's speeding the station wagon away from the motel as Grigor zips towards him from behind on his motorcycle as the bartender is seated behind him on the motorcycle. Russ, faster, Al. Al, it's a damn station wagon. What do you want me to do? Ruth and Kurt grab broomstick stakes and fend off the bikers who inch closer from the back window. Kurt, this can't be real. Ruth, it looks pretty damn real, Kurt. Al turns his head towards the back and grins like a madman as the vampire hybrids growl at him. Al, I told you I wasn't crazy, Liz. Woo! Would you just look at those freaks? Liz leans over and grabs the steering wheel to prevent the station wagon from careening off the road as Al laughs like a madman. Liz, will you please just watch the damn road? Biker 1, who's also a hybrid vampire, is speeding towards their front on his motorcycle as he launches an axe towards the windshield. Al, get down! He, Liz, and Russ scream and duck as glass shatters all over and the axe wedges into the driver's seat. Liz, watch the road, Al. He raises his head up slightly to see the road as Biker 1 rides right next to him, reaching for another axe. Al, hold on. He rams the station wagon into the motorcycle, catapulting him into the air. So Al goes right into Biker 1 and completely just catapults him off his motorcycle. Al, looks like these bloodsuckers can fly. So he's kind of having a good time now, like he's playing a video game. Kurt and Ruth are continuing to battle in the back seat. Kurt, Al, do you have a first aid kit? Kurt is pulling out a glass shard from his shoulder as blood squirts from the wound. Al, what? Kurt, a first aid kit. I need a Band-Aid. Al, why would I have a first aid kit? Russ and Liz, he's screaming this and having this conversation while these two fucking vampires are about to eat these people. They're still hanging from the back of the station wagon. And Al's speeding away like a madman. And Al's like, why are you asking me about first aid kits? Russ and Liz attempt to help from the front seat by flinging random items at the vampires as Kurt pokes one in the eye with his stake. Kurt, every responsible motorist carries at least one first aid kit. What if you break down during a snowstorm, or if Mac ever got bitten by a snake? Liz grabs Al's broomstick stake, jumps in the back, and stabs Biker 2 in the neck with the pocket knife end, just as he's about to bite Kurt. Kurt, Al, first aid kit. Biker 2 places his hand over his wound to stop the bleeding and flies out the back window onto the road. Al, I already told you, Kurt, I don't have a first aid kit. Biker 3 growls towards Ruth as she desperately fights him off with the broomstick stake, placing it in his mouth to kind of like prevent him from chomping down with his massive teeth. Ruth, would you both shut up about first aid kits? The vampire Biker 3, he bites into the stick, snapping it in half, as Kurt and Ruth wrestle him to keep his teeth away. Ruth, little help here. Al grabs the broken door handle off the floor, the one that broke off from before when they were on the side of the road. So he grabs the broken door handle off the floor and passes it to Ruth, who immediately stabs Biker 3 in the forehead with it, like right into his brain. Ruth, thanks, Al. Blood is squirting all over Ruth and Kurt as they kick the man out the back window, the vampire. Al, don't mention it. Now Grigor is riding his motorcycle directly towards the station wagon, the bartender seated behind him, as a game of chicken ensues, each man speeding towards the other, faster and faster. Liz, what the hell are you doing, Al? Al, you think I know? Russ removes the axe from Al's seat, leans his body out the front window and launches it towards Grigor, who maneuvers to the side of the station wagon at the very last second to avoid being hit by the axe. But he loses control and skids off the side of the road. Al, way to go, Rusty, you old dog, you. Woo! The station wagon speeds away as they cheer in victory. So all of these mid-aged people were able to fight off these vampires. It should be a pretty funny scene. You finally get some action here. Like we're on page 70 something, 72. But yeah, we're getting to the climax soon. But they were able to fend off these hybrid vampires for now, at least. All right. So we're going to leave this and go to the soccer field. Coach Daniels is standing next to Zeke on the sidelines as the rest of the Rebels players stretch together, while the opposing team, dressed in white uniforms, are passing soccer balls and sprinting in place in preparation for the game. Coach Daniels to Zeke, I'm going to be back soon. I'm sure they're all fine. He jogs away towards the parking lot as the referee walks over to Zeke, the same ref that we've always had in these games. Ref, hey, if your coach isn't here in 5 minutes, you'll lose by forfeit. The Rebels run up to him in a fuss, and they're all speaking over each other. Mac is saying, no way, man. Timmy's saying, you can't do this. Jordan is saying, this isn't fair. Zeke is saying, just let us coach ourselves. The referee stares at his watch. Ref, 5 minutes. This guy's all business. Coach Daniel stares back towards his former team as they argue with the ref. So Coach Daniels is walking away. Then he notices the commotion and he swigs his flask and then jogs back towards the field. Coach Daniels, hey, I'm the team's coach. The ref recognizes him and says, you? Coach Daniels, that's right. Ref, hey, I know you're not their coach. Coach, well, I used to be, okay? Isn't that close enough? The ref stares towards the Rebels' desperate faces. Coach, come on, they came to play, so please, just let the kids play. That's from some movie, Let Them Play, Let Them Play. I don't know, it's some 80s movie maybe. I don't remember what it is. Something's popping in my memory banks. The referee ponders for a few seconds, then concedes. Ref, all right, get them ready. He jogs away to midfield. Ref, you got 1 minute. Coach Daniels huddles his former team together, then takes a knee in the middle of them. Coach, listen, guys, I know I haven't been myself for the last year or so since Willie, but I just want you boys to know that it has nothing to do with any of you. Mac pats him on the back. Mac, it's okay, Coach. Coach Daniels. Truth is, I've just been afraid to be part of a team again, to be part of anything. Zeke puts his arm around him and consoles him. Coach, but I want you to know that I'll always have your backs, no matter what, because rebels stick together. He wipes some tears away. Coach, so go out there today and leave it all out on the field, and never, ever be afraid of anything. They all yell loudly like a bunch of Viking warriors ready for battle. Mac, to those sacred halls of Valhalla. Everyone sticks their hands in for the team cheer. Coach is leading it. Rebels on 3, and the team chants together. 1, 2, 3, Rebels. All right. So now Coach is having his moment in the sun. The determined Rebels charge onto the field as Coach Daniels grabs his flask from his pocket and tosses it into a garbage can near the bleachers, then claps towards his team. Coach, let's go now, boys. The ref blows the whistle and the game begins, with the white team possessing the ball first. All right, we're going to leave that scene, leave the audience in suspense, because I'm kind of into the soccer part of this story now, as the Rebels look to win for Willie in tribute, and Coach is now finding his stride once again. Now we're back to a rural road nearby as Al speeding the station wagon through a desolate countryside, as Russ and Liz are up front, and Kurt and Ruth are in the back. Russ, hey, make a left up here. He swerves to make the left turn. Russ, this should take us directly to the soccer fields. He checks his rear view as Grigor and the 3 bikers speed towards them on their bikes. Al, shit, it doesn't look like our new friends are giving up. Back at the soccer field, Zeke is dribbling the ball by a defender and shooting on goal, but the white team's goalie dives to make the save. As Coach Daniels claps from the sidelines, Coach, stay aggressive, Zeke. You'll get one to go. The white team's goalie punts the ball over midfield, where his midfielder passes it to the corner. His teammate retrieves the ball, crosses it into the box, where another teammate heads the ball into the net. The white team celebrates while the Rebels walk around with their heads held low, as Coach Daniels claps to motivate them. Coach, that's okay, guys. Keep fighting. Plenty of time left. Back to the rural road. Moments later, the station wagon is speeding towards the soccer fields in the far distance, as Grigor and crew gain on them from behind on their motorcycles. And Kurt leans forward from the back. Kurt, should we really be leading those things towards our kids? Al slams hard on the brakes, and stares back towards Kurt with crazy eyes. Al, damn it, Kurt. You might actually have a good point there, buddy. A loud rumble suddenly echoes in front of them as the ground quakes, and the engine turns off. He tries to start it up with no luck, as he grins like a madman. Al, I guess those cliches are there for a reason. So now the station wagon is DOA. Is that the right way to say it? It's not going to work anymore. All right, he tries again, and the engine struggles, but finally starts. All right, that was wrong. It does start again. Just as Grigor and crew approach from a few yards behind them, Ruth is yelling, "Drive, Al, drive!" He drives forward just a few feet, then he has to slam on the brakes as the ground collapses in front of him, and the front half of the station wagon leans forward into a huge sinkhole going miles deep. As Al turns towards the back, Al, You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. Ruth and Kurt quickly crawl out the back window to safety, followed by Liz, Russ, and Al, who hop into the back seat and dive out onto the ground. They stand and watch as the station wagon plummets into the smoke and sinkhole as Al wipes a tear from his eye. Grigor and crew speed towards them now, only to break a few feet away, turn around and speed back the other direction. Liz: why are they leaving? Al: maybe they just wanted to steal the station wagon. So what else is going to happen now? Something spooked even these crazy vampire bikers, so they sped away the other direction. But we're going to leave this scene and leave the audience in suspense as we're back to the soccer field. The Rebels are sitting on the bench at halftime, drinking water, eating orange slices, as Coach Daniels paces around them. Coach: that was a solid half, guys. Keep your heads up. We just need a little more support from the midfield when we make our runs. Zeke: I want you to keep pushing it forward every chance you get. Their defense looked weak towards the end of the half. The entire team appears exhausted, with their heads down. Coach Daniels: guys, come on, we're only down by 1 here. Let's play the second half with our asses on fire. If we lose, we lose. But nobody is ever going to say we didn't give it our all. They form a huddle around him and place their hands in the middle. Coach Daniels: keep attacking. Be relentless. Never say die. Rebels on 3. Everyone's chanting together. 1, 2, 3, Rebels. The Rebels and the white team run onto the field to begin the second half. Now, I was going to say he could give a speech there, a little bit about Willie and let's do this for Willie, but that comes kind of later, so that's why I didn't put it there. I was wondering why, like, the coach would be like, let's win this for Willie, and that would inspire the team. But I think I'd do that later. If not, if I'm forgetting, if I'm misremembering my own script here, then you could put something in there for that. Maybe they chant that for Willie. For Willie, for Willie. All right, now we're back to the rural road as we're drifting inside this large sinkhole as black smoke rises from the depths and demonic howls echo. An Al's station wagon shoots out and lands about 20 yards away, almost like it's being burped out of the hole by something. Something beneath the ground just launched this fucking station wagon like a basketball out into the ground nearby them, completely demolishing what is left of Al's vehicle. Then a monstrous hand reaches out from the depths, like a hand the size of like a building, like that, like a King Kong hand. All right. Now Al, Liz, a little bit away from this sinkhole, Al, Liz, Russ, Kurt, and Ruth are running towards the soccer fields, which are, not too far away now. As the ground starts to rumble around them, Russ: another quake? Another loud rumble echoes. Liz: it could be like an aftershock, I guess. Al puts his head on the ground. Al: I don't know. It sounds more like a heartbeat or something. The rumble gets louder and faster as Kurt turns around, his face in shock. Kurt: I don't think it's an earthquake. The others turn around as well as a 30-foot tall Cyclops charges towards them like a rabid beast. So, whatever Godzilla was or King Kong, like that size of a Cyclops. I'm thinking in this universe I'm creating, because this town has been on fire for 60 years, it's bringing like a portal for all these demons and other creatures to escape and finally reach the realm of Earth again, like from the underground layer. Maybe there was some battle back in the day where all of these creatures were put to rest underground, but this fire woke them up, and they've been planning to reemerge for 60 years ever since this fire started. That's why these bikers are going there. They're all being kind of attracted to this one location in Pennsylvania as a portal to hell is like opening up. They can feel it. Like Grigor has some sensibility like that, where he's looking at the stars and he's leading his tribe of bikers based on what the stars are telling him. So that's kind of like a prophecy or something. I didn't really put this down on paper. Like, this is exactly the backstory. I didn't go that nerdy about it, but that's basically what this boils down to. All right, let's close this story. We're back at the soccer field now. The white team is preparing for a free kick just outside the 18-yard line as the Rebels form a wall with Zeke, Timmy, Mac, Jordan, and a few others. Jordan jumps up valiantly and blocks the shot with his face, and Mac kicks the ball to safety up the field as Coach Daniels claps from the sidelines. "Coach, way to be, Jordan." Zeke helps Jordan up as his eye begins to swell. "Jordan, I'm all right. Just go, man." So Zeke is sprinting to catch up to the action as Timmy steals the ball from a defender, passes it to Mac, who sends the ball Zeke's way. Zeke settles it, dribbles it off his thigh, his other foot, and then he shoots it into the goal as the Rebels celebrate together. And Coach Daniels pumps his fist on the sideline. Coach Daniels, "There you go, brand new game. Keep up the pressure, guys." Back at the countryside nearby, Russ and Liz are now hiding behind a tree, panting, as Al, Kurt, and Ruth sprint past them towards the soccer fields. "Russ, what do you think it wants?" So they're running as fast as they can, and like right behind them is this huge fucking Cyclops. And they're like, Russ is like, "What do you think it wants?" Liz, "I don't know. I never came across a Cyclops before." The Cyclops lifts the entire tree from the roots and screams in their faces. This scene is different. They're not running. They're just hiding behind this tree as the Cyclops is running towards them. And it just lifts up the tree and finds their hiding place. And then he strikes his giant fist towards them as they dive out of the way and begin running towards the soccer field. Back on the soccer field, Coach Daniels is pacing nervously on the sideline as the Rebels goalie punts the ball past midfield. Coach Daniels, "Keep pushing, boys." Mac wins the ball and passes to Jordan, who quickly passes to Timmy, who sends a perfect pass to Zeke. Zeke sprints towards the goal, but a defender tackles him down hard from behind, like a desperation tackle, just totally tackles him. The ref blows his whistle and holds up a red card. Ref, penalty kick. Mac, Jordan, and Timmy run over and help Zeke up. Timmy, you all right? Zeke, yeah, I think so. Coach Daniels paces the sideline. Coach Daniels, you got this, Zeke. It's all yours. Back to the countryside, Al, Ruth, and Kurt are running for their lives towards the soccer fields that are pretty close now, as Russ and Liz catch up to them, dodging trees and large stones launched by the Cyclops behind them. Soccer field. Zeke is preparing for his penalty kick to decide the outcome of this championship game. He's staring towards the white team's goalie, who jumps up and bends the crossbar to try to psych him out. Zeke is thinking quietly to himself, "For Willie." I'm going to go back now and say that, in that halftime speech, they should do a cheer for Willie. And now Zeke is remembering it and saying to himself, "For Willie." The ref blows the whistle. Zeke runs to strike the ball, but the ball sinks into the grass. He and the goalie eye each other curiously, both equally confused, as just then the entire field begins to quake and large sections of grass sink below. Stunned family members rise from the bleachers as black smoke rises out of the sinkholes and dark clouds block out the sun. 7 gigantic demonic creatures with grotesque bat-like wings zip out from the sinkholes, while players from both teams sprint off the field in terror. The ref blows his whistle to try to organize this chaos as one of the demons slices off his head with its monstrous fingernail. So these are giant fucking beasts, and the one fingernail of this one demon slices off the ref's head. His blood splatters all over as Zeke runs through the field, dodging the other flying demons. One of the demons lands at midfield and blows a black horn like a call to battle as Coach Daniel stares at the field in disbelief, then retrieves his flask from the trash and takes a long swig. Al, Kurt, Ruth, Liz, and Russ run onto the field, pursued by the Cyclops, while also ducking from the lunging demons. One of them lands right in front of Russ and Liz as they reunite with Zeke, and it spreads its massive wings out as Coach Daniel sprints over and heroically leaps on it from behind. And he's talking to Liz, Russ, and Zeke. Go, get the hell out of here. Russ, Liz, and Zeke run off the field, gazing back as the demons flap their wings. Or this specific one, the one that's Coach Daniels is kind of putting in a neck lock, trying to ride on this thing. The dark clouds move. All right, I need to finish that thought. Yeah. Russ, Liz, and Zeke are trying to run to safety off the field as the demon flaps its wings and Coach Daniels goes flying backwards like 30 yards, and he lands to the ground, kind of knocked out at this point. The dark clouds move away from the sun as 7 glowing angels descend from the sky, enveloped in golden light, while we notice one of the glowing angels is Beverly, who we talked about before. So now these demons and angels are battling it out on this fucking soccer field in some small town, Pennsylvania, like the beginning of the apocalypse, as all the spectators and players are running for their lives in all directions. Coach Daniels lays dazed on the grass while the demon lands over him, its massive hand morphing into a sharp blade, which it raises to strike. Coach squints towards the blinding sunlight, then shuts his eyes. We don't really know what happens there. Now we're in the parking lot. Zeke, Russ, Liz run towards the minivan as other families are dashing to their own vehicles, as the giant angels and demons are battling all around them. Russ hurries inside, notices the keys are left in the ignition, and starts it up as Mac, Jordan, Timmy, Liz, Ruth, and Kurt rush inside the side door and cram inside together, followed by Al, who dives on top of the boys. Al: so, you boys win? Russ speeds away just as the Cyclops enters the parking lot, smashing and tossing vehicles in its path of destruction. As the boys stare out the window at this apocalyptic scene, Zeke: wait, what about Coach? Liz and Russ eye each other, not sure how to respond, and then they view the chaos in front of them as the demons shoot fire out of their mouths, like fucking dragons. Liz places her hand on Russ's hand as the ground in front of them sinks, forcing him to slam the brakes as the minivan floats up into the sky and drifts through the clouds. And that's the end. We don't really see anything that happens after that. And during that end credit scene, I'm going to get a few more animations in as The Dark of the Sun plays by Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. So let me get through this and then I'll explain my thinking of these last scenes here. During this end credit scene, we go back to another animation, like the Rick and Morty after the credits, or it could be during the credits. We just see these weird animations as the minivan is driving through the clouds, like floating through the fucking clouds. And a door on top of a cloud opens and the minivan drifts inside towards a smiling sun who winks and gives a thumbs up. So these are very like whimsical type of quick. It's based on the Doors of Perception. That's where I got this from. I read it around this time and I'm like, that'll be cool. Every cloud has a door on top and the doors are opening and the minivan is driving through to get to a new like dimension or some shit. So in dimension 1, it's just this smiling sun who's winking and giving a thumbs up. Now they go to another cloud and drive through a door. And now they're in this other dimension where a huge mountain is on fire as it burns to ash. Now they go through another door on a cloud and they're in this universe where an ocean is swirling up in a whirlpool as the ocean water evaporates, and this army of Cyclops is marching on the ocean floor. Another door opens on a cloud, and the minivan goes through, and now they're going towards a frozen lake as snow people families have playful snowball fights. Now another door opens on another cloud, and the minivan goes through, and now they're drifting towards this smoking sinkhole as all types of monstrous, hellish creatures are climbing out. Now another door opens on another cloud, and the minivan goes through towards the sea of bright stars, while a chariot pulled by griffins zips by, driven by Orion, the celestial hunter. And the last scene, the minivan is drifting by Orion's belt constellation as loud radio static echoes through the black void, and we hear the voice of Carl Sagan as a voiceover. We have begun to contemplate our origins. Star stuff, pondering the stars. I'm not sure where that's from. I'm sure that's a pretty classic quote from Carl Sagan. We have begun to contemplate our origins. Star stuff, pondering the stars. Now the minivan zooms even farther into the great unknown in hyperspeed as streaks of golden light are flaming out behind it, while the light forms into a new constellation of a soccer player who shoots a ball into a net created out of newly birthed stars. So it's kind of a happy ending here. These are just fun animations during the credits. It doesn't mean the story went this direction, but what the fuck? I'm running a story about a soccer game mixed with the end of the world as angels and demons are fighting it out again. Maybe this happened thousands of years ago or millions of years ago, and the angels kind of just have kept a vigilant eye to see if these demons return again. They sent them to like this underground prison, but because of this damn underground mine fire in Pennsylvania, now they're all able to escape back to Earth. So yeah, it's a crazy fucking story, but it has enough elements to make it work. Could it be an entire season of Stranger Things? I think it could. I really do, because the character is really likable. You could build more storylines based on these kids. Somebody said, well, what about the rest of the soccer team? Don't they? Yeah, but you can't have 11 kid characters like with major roles. It doesn't work in this story. The other kids are a part of the team, but they're not really. Like a soccer team is what, 10 players plus the goalie? So there's more kids on the bench and other kids on the field, but you can't have a story with 11 kids like that. It doesn't work. Like, I guess you could. The Goonies kind of did it. Goonies had a good amount of kid characters. I don't know how many, but this is just how it came and developed. I wanted to give unique roles to each child. Like, they would be 10 to 12 years old, I guess, around that age group. Like I said, before puberty, before they lose their childhood innocence like that. That's why those movies work. So that's why I put that line in there too. The nuns teach you about puberty yet? When Al was driving his station wagon, and then he's like, "Don't pop any boners." So yeah, there's a lot of reasons for doing some of these things. I get that it's not a usual type of experience, but yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to write a common script that has been done before a million times. To a degree, this story has been done a million times, but not exactly the way I'm setting this up. Like, there's a lot of unanswered questions. What were the pregnant women? And people would be like wondering, but people are smart. They can make up their own stories based on what I just talked about. These creatures need human women to carry their bloodline, and they probably get weaker as they go. Like, Grigor might be like the most ancient one out of this group of vampires, but he's having sex with other women, and their children are going to be less vampire blood as he spreads his seed. Which, with each generation, it will be get weaker and weaker until the human side is more of a percentage than the vampire side, I guess. But they're still a part of the vampire ancestry. And then you have the Cyclops, and they're probably working together for something. Like, they captured that Cyclops maybe to keep him from exposing what's going to happen soon, or to use him as another way. Like, I was thinking the Cyclops was the one having sex with these women, but I'm like, this Cyclops is just a wild beast. He's not going to be fucking these human women. So really, those 7 women that were chained in the cave were just kidnapped by these vampire people, these bikers, and they just try to grow their tribe the best they can. Maybe that bartender was an offspring prior of a human woman and a vampire, and that's why she's half and half. But all of them are like, they're all hybrid vampires like that. So I think that justifies the story there. And because this town has been on fire for 60 years, it's kind of drawing all these ancient mythological creatures back to this area, because really they probably hide in the shadows for most of their lives. If there's still vampires around, or lizard people, whatever, they're probably not really living a normal human life. You know, they got to survive how they survive, eating fucking deer parts. Maybe there's a bit of interview with the vampire in some of these characters. I think Brad Pitt's character didn't want to eat humans; he just ate rats. And Tom Cruise was like, "Fuck that, man! You gotta eat human blood, man." So yeah, you could really build more of a universe using their characters. Yeah, the bikers, a whole biker gang of vampires. Like, it's probably been done in another movie, maybe even Dusk Till Dawn, or The Lost Boys is kind of like that. It's like a gang of vampires, but I don't even remember that movie too well. So it's weird. There's a lot of stuff in this that could go either way for me. If people wanted to get rid of certain scenes, I would hear them out at least. I always view that as my role. I would be a consultant if I sold these episodes to a production company, and they wanted to change the mood and and pace of this story and get rid of some things. I'm definitely going to be open to anything, but, well, not anything. I wouldn't want a complete rewrite of anything major plot shifts or character changes or any kind of crazy censorship. I probably wouldn't go for that. So it's I think about these things though, since I won't be directing these, and there's not much else I can do but kind of show the vision I have and relate it to movies that I love as a child. Goonies, and I spoke of Jaws in part one, and Interview with the Vampire was a big one. I really enjoyed that movie as a kid. I said Little Monsters, and yeah, you can blend movies together sometimes. Like, I don't know, what are some other popular horror movies from the 80s? 'Cause I can't really think of anything else. Well, besides Freddy and Jason, all right, Twilight Zone is pretty good. Gremlins is Gremlins might be a fair thing to compare this to, even though those little fuckers were scary and they scared the shit out of me as a kid. Gremlins is a classic. That's pretty good. Little Shop of Horrors. I love that movie. Yeah, The Burbs is pretty good. There's a lot of weird one from the 80s. Well, I actually talked about Teen Wolf in this script. I don't know if I'd call that a horror movie. It's just like that's a puberty movie completely. That's all that movie really is. It's just a symbolic puberty movie. Never saw that. Poltergeist was alright. House. I talked about the movie House. That was pretty good. Yeah. I never saw The Howling. I don't know what that is. Frankenweenie? Alright, there's some stupid ones too. Altered States. According to IMDb, the top horror movies of the 80s. Altered States, I never saw that. Dressed to Kill, never saw it. Well, Friday the 13th, yeah. I never saw The Changeling. Yeah, that looks kind of interesting. I never saw The Fog, really, either. Maybe part of that movie. Yeah, The Shining's amazing. That's John Carpenter, too. I don't think I saw The Fog. Maybe bits and pieces of it. I don't remember it, though. Yeah, The Shining would be number one for me, probably. American Werewolf in London. Dead and Buried, never saw it. Bloody Valentine, never saw it. Possession, never saw it. Scanners, nope. The Burning, nope. The Howling, nope. The Prowler, The Evil Dead, alright, there you go, I saw that one. Evil Dead that's a classic. Wolfen, Cat People, Creepshow. Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. So there's a lot of shit I've never watched. The Dark Crystal? That's like a Jim Henson movie. Christine's pretty good. I'm trying to picture other type of the Coen Brothers, Blood Simple. I never saw that yet. Yeah, I might watch that right now. The Coen Brothers horror movie? Is it really a horror movie? Blood Simple. The owner of a seedy small town Texas bar discovers that one of his employees is having an affair with his wife. A chaotic chain of misunderstandings, lies, and mischief ensues after he devises a plot to have them murdered. It's more of a murder mystery than a horror movie, but I feel like I should watch this since it's Coen Brothers. But yeah, I'm not the biggest horror aficionado because other people can talk about a genre like that very easily, and those are the type of people I would want to work with. Yeah, I'm just going by my memories of childhood and what would work as a horror story. And I think that's the coolest thing. I had an idea for a similar plot line for a movie like this, where the kids go to a soccer tournament. All the parents get kind of brainwashed by some force, and now the parents are trying to kill the kids, and the kids have to come together and try to wake up their parents from this demonic spell before they kill everybody. That was my original idea, but it turned into a vampire movie because it just didn't work out. I wasn't sure how to really end that in a way that made sense. I didn't know how to carry that story. And if all the parents got some spell put on them, like a mind control, and they were trying to kill all the kids, and the kids are like, oh shit, our parents are trying to kill us, and they're trying to team up to solve this mystery. But it didn't go that direction. I kind of did that already in Jailbreak. There's scenes like that with the doppelganger demon. So I kind of went towards this direction to see how I could add to the vampire genre. Hopefully I got somewhere people who are into that stuff could judge me and see if I have anything worthwhile. But it's a fun ride. I think it could really get people laughing and have cool visuals at the end with the chase scene. By page 70, the last 20 minutes would be action-packed. There's not a lot of action leading up to that, but there is the scene with the giant cyclops inside the cave when the kids meet Grigor and the bikers. I tried to put as much suspense as I could in between getting up to the last 20 minutes. Because I've been through movies like that where you're like, get on with it, man. Just get on with it. Get to the fucking climax already. Like a prostitute who just wants this disgusting dude to bust his nut so she could get her money and leave. That's like, some movies are like that where you're like, oh, why did I pay to see this? Just please get to the end. This movie sucks. Get to the end. Get to the end, please. So I've been through movies like that. The Blair Witch was kind of like that for a lot of people. I enjoyed all the slow build-up because I thought it was such a weird way to make a movie. I never saw a movie like that, even though I was only like 14 when I saw it. And a lot of people did criticize that movie, saying, yeah, it was interesting, but it was just gimmicky and nothing happened till the end. And I could see that. There is some truth to that. Because it was such a low budget film with barely any production cost. But I think it still worked because of the atmosphere they created. But this movie is completely different. This is Goonies mixed with Gremlins, mixed with Little Giants, like weird stuff from my childhood that I'm trying to blend together. Because that's what my friends, we would go to like the $1.50 movie theater or watch The Crow. I remember seeing The Crow there, and that was like a pretty crazy movie. Fucking, Little Giants and movies like that. Even Mighty Ducks. Movies like that were the hot thing in the early 90s. What was the movie that said, let them play? What movie had the famous line? Let me see if I can find this out. There's some movie with the sports team. Let them play. Let them play. I can't remember what it is. Let them play. Let them eat cake? No, that's something different. Remember the Titans? Nah, man, it's not that, is it? Let him play, ref. Let him play. I don't think that's what it is. Is it the Bad News Bears? Is it really? Shit, I don't remember that. I gotta look this up. Maybe it is from the Bad News Bears, featuring the character Kelly. I've watched the Bad News Bears like a million times. I can't recall that scene why they're saying let them play, let them play, let them play. I don't know. Maybe there's a bit of Bad News Bears in this as well. That's a great movie. One of my favorite movies. But I don't know. I just feel like this script, even though it is kind of polished, and I worked on this many times to kind of rearrange things and add new beginning scene and add more of a connection between Willie and Zeke, showing their friendship in the beginning. I didn't have that in the beginning. The scene in the beginning with Willie and Zeke. Originally, Willie just had a cancer. He had some kind of cancer, and he died like that. And the coach became an alcoholic anyway after he died. And the team is still trying to win the tournament for Willie. But then I was like, well, I got vampires in this story kidnapping women and kidnapping kids. Why am I not connecting those dots? So I changed the beginning to have these vampires trying to kidnap Willie that night. And yeah, if I read this again, I might notice something different that I want to change, or other people that I collaborate with would notice how to make this more of a fun ride from what it is. I get it. The scenes that I'm reading with when they're driving to the town, maybe that goes on for 5-10 minutes, but you're getting to know these characters, and there's also some suspense in those scenes where Russ finds that barn and he sees these bikers inside, so he can recognize Grigor later when Grigor's in the bar dancing with Liz. And there's the scene with Timmy and Mac when Timmy's taking a piss in the woods, and then the ground starts to sink. So again, I'm trying to show that they're still like 70 miles away from this town, but this fire has opened this portal to hell. So it's going to start happening town to town, town to town. More and more creatures coming from the ground like that. You could have a sequel like that, because you never really show how the story ends. What happened to Coach? Did Coach Daniels die? Is he still alive? In my hypothetical world where I become, able to survive, I was going to say rich and famous, but I don't even want that. I just want to make enough money so I can keep going with this shit. The next season, or season 3 of this series, I would have some kind of a buddy cop adventure with Coach Daniels and Beverly. So in this version, Coach doesn't die, and he and Beverly are kind of teaming up now to figure out how to handle this demonic world, to see where, I don't know, maybe it's like a couple days later, to see how the apocalypse is going. I haven't really fleshed out any sequels yet, but I have ideas for stuff. Because Coach Daniels is a likable dude. I think I would bring him back, at least try to, if the story could be good enough, where he and Beverly kind of team up together like a buddy cop film. Because I used Beverly in 3 episodes, but she's only in them sparingly. She's in episode 2 the most. But maybe she deserves her own episode showing her, I don't know, thousands of years ago or some shit. I'm not sure yet. There's a lot of other ideas I have for similar types of experiences, but yeah, there's enough to this story to develop this farther, to put it into a cinematic version. There's enough here to warrant that. I still like this story. Again, I haven't read any of these scripts in years, but they still hold up. I think they could really have a large viewing audience, not just horror fans, not just this could be a PG 13 movie. There's a couple shit words in there. I think I used bullshit a couple times. Bullshit land. And other than that, there's not a lot of blood or gore, maybe a couple scenes, but that's it. You can make this PG 13, maybe tame down some of the death scenes a little bit so kids would be able to watch it. Or you make it R and you spice it up more. I could be convinced either way. Because in reality, if kids want to watch a horror movie, they're going to watch a fucking horror movie. It's not a big deal anymore. Maybe back when I was a kid, it was harder you can't stream stuff. You can't go to your friend's house and watch porn on his phone. My friends had to make a VHS tape with like all the softcore porn from Cinemax and just make this VHS tape like a mixtape so we could just share that. Or whenever we bought porn, we would have to hide it in someone's house. It was different back then. You couldn't watch horror movies unless you went and rented the movie. There was no on demand. There was no Netflix or any of that shit. I was doing Netflix back when you had to order DVDs. That's when I started. When it first started, I was like, oh, this is awesome. I get a DVD in the mail and then I can watch it and then send it back. Like looking at it now, that was pretty inconvenient. Although you don't have to go drive to West Coast Video or Blockbuster Video, but I guess as Netflix, I don't know if Netflix was the first one to offer streaming service. I really don't know. I want to think YouTube kind of led the way, but because I remember being on YouTube for hours and hours looking up stupid like Borat clips and shit like that when I was really young, or in my teenage years maybe. What was the first streaming site? What was the first streaming site? I never even heard of it. Launched in 1995, Real Networks Real Player. Yeah, that must have not been too successful. Real Player? I don't remember that at all. Starworks? YouTube was in 2005. Netflix came soon after 2007. Broadcast.com, never heard of it. Rhapsody, I've heard of. 2001. First on-demand music streaming was Rhapsody. So Netflix was pretty ahead of the curve, yeah. From their mail-in DVDs to subscription-based streaming in 2007. So that was pretty early on. But I do remember doing that, mailing DVDs back, ordering new ones and stuff. Vaguely remember doing all that shit. But yeah, so even though there is some disturbing parts of this movie, I think you can tell as I'm reading through it, trying to read these lines of dialogues that the kids would be saying, that there is an innocence in this, and that's why it works. You can't have a movie like this with just older teenagers who are already fucking, already doing drugs, already cynical assholes, and it doesn't work like that. You gotta have kids that are 10 to 12 range that are still innocent and not at that point in their lives yet where they're just thinking about sex and whatever else teenagers are doing. They're not in their angsty teenage years yet. They're still innocent children. That's why a story like this works. That's why Goonie works. That's why Stand By Me works. That's why the movie It worked for me. You have these innocent kids fighting this evil clown spirit, giant spider bitch. And that's why those movies work. And you could see how much I love those movies because I wrote Jailbreak in that vein. And now I wrote this one in a similar vein. And I probably have other ideas of other kinds of plot lines with horrific storylines that count on a young cast like that. I just think it's cool because I love movies like that. There's not much else to talk about. It's a little bit longer of a script. It's about 80 some pages, but it's pretty easy to get through. For me, I thought this was pretty easily read. And yeah, I think it fits a good time period. And Tom Petty, Into the Great Wide Open, that's from 1991. So it fits the time period, that sound, the production, Jeff Lynne production. It takes me back to 1990s. And yeah, it works on a lot of different levels, the lyrics and the music, the way it sounds. And it's cool that I found that album later in life. It's a lot cooler when you hear an album you grew up with, and then you hear it later as an adult, as you get older, and you're like, wow, I never really realized what this song's about. Everyone has stories like that, I guess. I never knew that, like the slang of this song or whatever. So it's interesting to revisit things from your childhood. Like, I'll watch Little Monsters later, and I'll be like, wow, this is all coming back to me from when I was like 9, 10 years old. Or I'll watch Gremlins again, and I'll probably notice things I didn't really think about before. Or any movie like that. What was Gremlins rated? Was that marketed towards kids? Like, were they having Happy Meals with those gremlin creatures? Maybe just Gizmo? Gremlins rating. It's rated PG. Alright. Because the movie featured dark scenes, parental outrage prompted the MPAA to create PG-13. Wow, after the release of Gremlins. I never knew that. So Gremlins was kind of messed up and kids got all fucked up with it. So that's what kind of led to PG-13, I guess. There's decapitation in it? I don't even remember that. Like, I wrote in my book about when I was a kid, I was freaked out by that fucking movie, man. Somebody bought me a little toy of like one of the demonic gremlin creatures, and I would keep it in the toy chest. And whenever I saw the fucking thing, I would just like freak out. And I'd be like, man, this thing's gonna come to life and just gut me while I'm sleeping. It would just freak me out. I couldn't even like touch it. I had weird phobias. It was freaky looking. Like, it did look like some demonic fucking creature from hell. But I would like to go somewhere in between if I can get away with it. For a movie like this, I don't want it to be overly graphic where parents would be like, yeah, there's no way I'm showing that to my kids. But comparable to Stranger Things, like that level of darkness, that level of occult imaging and overall horrifying visuals that might really freak out a kid. I'm trying to blend it somewhere in the middle there, so it's not too crazy. And I think I've done that successfully because this was in my head when I thought of this concept, and as I was writing it, it was one of the longer scripts or it took me a very long time to get through it all, more than usual. And well, why would I keep this as an episode and not a feature film? Basically, because it has reoccurring characters, but I'm not stupid either. If somebody liked this concept enough and they wanted to bring it to life as a feature film, and I'm going to get paid for my work for once, then you can manipulate stuff around. You could still have the same story, but people won't really know who Beverly is based on when we met her in episode 2 with Lori, or when she was with Lamb in episode 9, Rinse and Repeat Part 1. So those slight things can be arranged so you don't have to, it doesn't have to be an episode of my series and nothing else. But because I'm writing this as an episode, I want to connect it to other characters. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Because there's times when I took things out that I thought was kind of corny. But, I can just base it on what I think. Because I work alone, I don't have other people giving me their own opinions about shit. Maybe the only other angle I could mention is this kind of traditional life. There's a political context of that. The traditional conservative approach to a more progressive living outside the box, living outside that cage of tradition. Less Than Jake has a song, tradition just seems to stick. Tradition seems to stick to you just like crazy glue. And that is kind of represented by Jack's character. Rest in peace, Jack. Less Than Jake. Because he's the one saying, all the kids moved out of here because of the mine fire and they didn't want to be part of the same fucking traditional life that their parents had and so on and so on. Versus, moving to a city. That was a theme in the Wraiths refrain when Morrison and what's his name? I forget his name now. Whatever the guy's name is, they're having a discussion about moving to the city because the old ways are dying out and you can't make a living anymore. And that's a common theme in movies. I'm not making anything new there either. But you can find little things like that if you really care to. Just like in Jaws that I mentioned, there's that whole undertone of freedom versus security. Where do you draw that line in the sand? Dun dun. In this one, it's not really out there in your face, but there is a bit of that. The scene where Jack is talking to Al. He's talking his ear off in the bar and saying all those things. It's going to come a time where men don't even realize they have a soul inside of them, or whatever it is. There's a reason Caesar burnt down that library in Alexandria. Whoever controls history, it's that kind of a theme. Traditions can't really survive if there's nobody else to pass them on to. That's what I was trying to get through Jack's character, and he ends up dying at the end. Just as he's the one, probably, he's all Alex Jones'd out, looking at the stars. You could grow on his character, really. I could have probably, and I was probably tempted to add some more scenes with Jack staring up at the stars and maybe he's got a deeper connection to Grigor and they made some deal where Al will, or Jack will bring tourists into the bar and serve them as bait to the vampires. Like, he's probably aware of what they're doing. So there are undertones. If you care about that shit, there are some political, or not really political, but in a way political. The passing the torch to the next generation, that type of a politics. All right, this is that Less Than Jake song from Losing Streak. This is one of my favorite albums as a teenager. It seems I can't explain it all the reasons gone. I just can't seem to shake what I was brought up on. Well, it's hard to say and it's hard to explain that everything I've known been feeling strange. I guess we'll always have tradition to fall back on. Tradition seems to stick. Tradition seems to stick to you just like crazy glue. Yeah, it's a good song, man. Really good album. What the hell am I supposed to do? Am I just going to accept someone else's point of view? Yeah, well, we could ramble on, and we could ramble on, and still not know, still not know. Just keeps rolling through my brain, just keeps running like a non-stop freight train. Tradition seems to stick to you, just like crazy glue. Yeah, go check out Less Than Jake. I'm sure they're a very popular band. They have a song called Never Going Back to New Jersey. Very relevant to my life. Yeah. I listed my like top 20 punk albums. I think that was in the top 5. Less Than Jake, Losing Streak. They're still making music as far as I know, still touring and stuff. But that was my teenage years. High school, mid 90s was Less Than Jake, Real Big Fish, Blink 182. That was that era of the pop punk, partially ska revival, I guess. But they're still an amazing band, Less Than Jake. But yeah, I'm rambling. I think I'm going to stop here. This story was easy to get through in terms of production costs and all that. Comparable to some of the other scripts I've written. Like, yeah, there's some things here that could get kind of intense. But half the movie is almost like a soccer game. Maybe a third of it. That would bring the crowd, give them another reason to cheer. Because maybe what I didn't even mention yet was when Coach takes over. When Coach Daniels is forced to become the coach. He didn't want to, but at the end he became the coach again. And plus, he was able to save Zeke's life. So he had a very heroic quest there. It's a weird synchronicity in a way that Russ was the one begging him to come to the tournament with them and join the team. And then at the end, Russ, Zeke, and Liz are about to get mauled by this demon creature. And Coach comes and saves them. So if he didn't come along, they'd probably be dead. So it's an interesting way to look at that too. But yeah, he was a hero in this. The coach led the team to a near victory. If it wasn't for the fucking apocalypse breaking up the game, like it's not a rain delay. It's we got to delay this game because of apocalyptic events here. Demons are coming out of the soccer field. So I don't really know how else people would end this movie. It's not Transformers. It's not a Marvel movie where you need to have an ending, because people would leave the theater and they're going to be like, well, who won? Did the fucking demons win or the fucking angels? Who won that battle between light and dark? And I just don't finish the story. It's not what the story's about, really. Because it doesn't really matter. In a way, it doesn't. In a way, I guess it does. But usually people want to see a end battle like that between the Decepticons and the good guys, whatever they were fucking called, Transformers. It's kind of a weird way to end a movie like this. It's not like a Marvel movie though. There's nothing in this like a Marvel movie or superhero where you need to have an ending between demons and angels or these creatures, whatever you want to call them. The Cyclops are showing up. Vampires are back on the loose. We're about to go back to medieval times and shit. Burning witches. All that shit's coming back into human life very soon now, because people will look at these events and be like, okay, all this biblical shit's actually true. If demons and angels are like battling it out on a soccer field, yeah, it's going to change people's priorities a bit. But yeah, the point of this episode is not to show that. Could I come back to this story? I did say I was thinking about it. I'd come back and show Beverly and Coach Daniels somehow having an adventure, just the two of them. Another episode in this series of Rebels Part 2 for future consideration. I don't know. If the story is actually good, because I'm not going to make a stupid Part 2 to this if it doesn't make sense. I'd rather end it open-ended. Does that make sense? Where all you see is the family minivan flying up into the clouds like God or whatever force is calling these people away, like what's the other Christian End of the World series with Kirk Cameron? I forget what it's called, but I'm not really going for that. I'm not saying only certain people are going to be saved on that day of reckoning. Like, that's not where I'm going with my philosophy. But that's what I'm kind of showing. And I had a dream when I was a kid similar to that. We were on a road trip to Canada. I was sleeping in the back seat. I woke up and saw like a statue of the Virgin Mary on the side of some home or some shit. And then I went back to sleep and I thought we were driving into the clouds. I had this really weird nightmare. And it was so vivid, like we were driving through the clouds, like all the way up into space and shit. And this was like a young kid. I wasn't on drugs or something. I was probably like 10 years old, having this really weird dream, and it stuck with me. So that's really where the ending came from. So they're getting chased by the Cyclops and all this other chaos. They get in the minivan and just leave. Sadly, Coach is left behind, but maybe Coach wanted it like that. He was meant to be there just to save Zeke and his family. So, yeah, it's not really based on the Left Behind. Is that what it's called? There's some Christian horror series that paints that picture. If you're not a believer, you're going to be left behind when the day of judgment comes. Yeah, Left Behind. It's like a whole series, I think. Left Behind is a Christian apocalyptic thriller. That's not what I'm going for with this story. I don't think these demons or angels are specifically to one religion. It's just a human thing in my mind. When the rapture comes and all the stuff in the book of Revelations that I don't know. I've never read it. Never read most of the Bible. So I'm not going that direction at all. It just happens that I didn't know really how to end that story. They could have just drove down the road. But because I read The Doors of Perception, the Aldous Huxley book, there was something in that book that led me to like going through different doors in the clouds and going into different dimensions like that. That's where I was going with that. So that's how I ended it. It's kind of a weird ending, but why not? Why do I have to pick a cliche ending? You can't leave this open-ended. You have to solve this battle. Who's going to win, the angels or demons, man? Like, that's not what this story's about. I don't care about the conclusion of this apocalypse. unless I do make another chapter in this, but I don't know yet. From what I remember, I was hesitant to even try to make a sequel to this because I just like the flow of this very well and kind of want to end this story here. But again, maybe Beverly comes back again since she's been in 3 episodes. She's kind of the connective tissue, the glue to bring some of these stories together. The Lori story, the Lamb story, this story. So it's probably inevitable that she comes back at some point. But either way, it doesn't matter because you don't need to continue this story. It's not necessary. That's the freedom that a series like that provides. When I get into this story tomorrow called Garrity, again, we met Garrity in episode 2. I keep saying season. Episode 2, we met Paul Garrity. He's like the Sean Hannity cable host. And tomorrow's episode is going to be another freak show. It's my tribute to network, but instead of a warning against cable news, it's more of a warning against social media and that side of the propaganda coin. I don't know how many people watch cable news anymore. I don't think many people do. And I think people are just tired of all the bullshit they see on the news, so they just turn it off. Or they need to take long breaks from it at least. But when I get into Garrity tomorrow, it has nothing to do with this story. It's nothing to do with any other storylines from season 1. But tomorrow is the finale. And weirdly, I picture Woody Harrelson. I go kind of back and forth because Garrity's the main character now. And there is a scene towards the end. I'll just talk about this really quickly because I'll have plenty of time to talk about it tomorrow. There's a scene towards the end where Garrity goes on this long rant, which was inspired by Howard Beale and all the stuff from Network. And I'm like, who do I picture doing this? Is it Matthew McConaughey? Is it Jon Stewart? Because what if Jon Stewart could play a right-wing Fox News host? That's what Garrity kind of represents in this story, the right-wing side of media propaganda. Jon Stewart was kind of on the left side of that, but he was doing a comedy show, and he always said, "I'm not pretending to be a journalist. I'm providing entertainment and news together." So I always liked Jon Stewart. That's when I used to watch The Daily Show like religiously, back in the early 2000s. So sometimes I picture Jon Stewart playing this role. He's the old, grizzled right-winger, and Jon Stewart has the acting chops to probably pull it off like that. He was in that industry. He had the famous episode with Bill O'Reilly when they were trying to converse about how cable news was destroying itself because it was becoming too polarized. I'm on this side, you're on this side. Now it's crossfire. Dun, dun, dun. We're going to fight for an hour and talk over each other. And I think that was Tucker Carlson and somebody else. Crossfire on CNN, and I'm pretty sure it was Tucker Carlson. Who was on Crossfire? CNN. That's from a long while ago, but that popped in my head right now. Maybe Jon Stewart was a guest on there. Who was on Crossfire? CNN. Yeah, it is Tucker Carlson. CNN Crossfire started in the 80s, then it came back in 2013 to 14. It most notably had host Pat Buchanan and Tom Braden. Don't know him. I do know Pat Buchanan. Alongside later host Tucker Carlson, Robert Novak, James Carville. He's funny. I like that guy. Paul Begala. I do remember him. Bill Press. I don't remember him. The show was famous for its partisan left versus right debates. Van Jones, I've heard of him. Newt Gingrich was a part of this. Yeah, so I think Jon Stewart went on this show to specifically criticize the show. Yeah, it's even right here. Crossfire is historically remembered for a 2004 appearance by Jon Stewart, who criticized the host for, in his view, damaging public discourse. Yeah, so I was a pretty big Jon Stewart fan because of stuff he did like that. He did have balls, even if you don't agree with his politics. He didn't really fear anything, like very intelligent of the political side of things, wrote some cool books, and he did that Daily Show for a long fucking time. If anyone knows the ins and outs of cable news and all the manipulation and bullshit, it's Jon Stewart. Like, he was a part of that world, even if he wasn't exactly a Bill O'Reilly, but he's not on a news channel. He's on a comedy channel, doing his own version of news reporting and kind of a satire, but he would also get pretty serious about stuff at times. But that era, when I was in my 20s, yeah, that was the Bill O'Reilly, Glenn Beck's. Rush Limbaugh was still big back then. Sean Hannity was coming up at that point on the radio. I remember working at some stupid job. Like, all I did all day was move around files in this big warehouse. I just had to sit in this chair and make sure the files were organized. And the only way I could get through it was to listen to the radio. And some days I would just listen to talk radio. 12:10 a.m. in Philadelphia. It was like Rush Limbaugh, Glenn Beck, Sean Hannity. All those big names were on this same channel all day long. And even though I was more aligned with the Daily Show, it was still interesting to hear other voices like that. So I would spend maybe 4 or 5 hours a day for like a good month or two just listening to political right-wing radio. And yeah, it was almost like self-torture at times. But I don't know. I was weird like that. It was either that or you listen to crappy music. So I was like, I'd rather just listen to somebody talking, I guess. That's how they get you. And boom goes the dynamite. Yeah, he passes it to the man, and boom goes the dynamite. Yeah, I love that guy. Of all the YouTube clips that still make me laugh, that might be my favorite one. Like, I would be starstruck if I ever met that guy. Be like, dude, you're the boom goes the dynamite guy. Joe Rogan should interview that dude. I would watch like a 5-hour interview with him where all he talks about is boom goes the dynamite. You got to get that guy on podcast or do his own podcast. There you go. He should have his own podcast and it should be called Boom Goes the Dynamite. Any famous person would love to go on that dude's podcast. Man, I should be an agent. I should be a fucking talent scout. Get me that guy. What's his name? What's that fucking guy's name? I'm gonna make him a millionaire today. Boom goes the dynamite. I'm about to change your life, buddy. Boom goes the dynamite guy. What's his real name? Brian Collins of Ball State University. That was back in 2005. What's he doing now? Boom goes the dynamite guy. Was he on Tosh.0 or something? Where is he now? It wouldn't be surprising if he did Tosh.0. Brian Collins, who was famous from the Boom Goes the Dynamite, transitioned into a career as a multimedia journalist and content creator after working as a television reporter in Texas. So he's kind of doing independent content creation. There you go. He's in the field. That dude should be doing a podcast, man. 'Cause I would listen to that like religiously. That would be like my favorite podcast of all time. My 2 ideas for podcasts would be Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan should have a podcast. Because that would be the most listened to podcast of all time. if Michael Jordan gave his secrets of how he became famous, and then he starts interviewing other people. His business sense, because he's a great businessman, man. Businessman, man. He's like a billionaire at this point. His mother had like a business sense. If you watch that movie about Nike, where Jordan was being recruited by Adidas and Nike and Converse, he chooses Nike because they gave him a piece of every sale. They gave him that historic contract like that. So he would make money off of every shoe sale, like royalties, which is how it should be. Yeah, that's fair to me, I think. But I think his mother's the one that was like the business side of that, if I'm not mistaken. So my two ideas for a podcast: Michael Jordan hosting one, whatever it's called. Airtime with Michael Jordan. That's stupid. I don't know. Come up with something with Air Jordan. Just call it Air Jordan. Catching some air. I don't know. But this one's perfect. Brian Collins, the Boom Goes the Dynamite guy. He should have his own podcast where he just interviews famous people and somehow incorporates that into every interview. Or he asks them, like, what's your most embarrassing moment? We all know what mine is. Yeah. All right, I guess that's a good place to end this. I just crossed the 3-hour plateau, so that's usually when I want to stop. Come back tomorrow, please. Please and thank you. Episode 12 is a wild ride. It has my favorite bit of dialogue that I've ever written, so far at least. If you like the movie Network, and I think that has a pretty big following, it almost won Best Picture of the Year. I think Rocky beat it out in 76, maybe. If you like the movie Network, if you like that dark, Black Mirror, dystopian type of shit, then if you like a bit of satire, if you like some weird fucking psychedelic Wizard of Oz shit, then you're going to want to stay tuned tomorrow when I go through Garrity. It's the last episode of this season, and maybe, I always say maybe it's my favorite, but yeah, they're all kind of my favorites, really. This one is also kind of my favorites, Rebels, because it's a part of my childhood. It brings me back to those childhood days of innocence where, and yes, there were some scenes that actually happened. I remember whatever hotel we stayed at as a soccer team, like some of the parents got drunk and they were like singing, I Shot the Sheriff. I don't know if they were drunk, but they were doing karaoke. And I remember somebody singing, I shot the sheriff, but I did not shoot the deputy. I shot the sheriff. And just memories like that stay in my head for some reason. Why do I still have that memory? Because it was like so much fun to watch older people singing the karaoke songs. It was like such an odd thing to see. It had to be like 94 or 95, because I remember sneaking into like the hotel lobby and watching like the Flyers play the Rangers. So it had to be like 94 or 95 probably. It was like hockey playoff season. But yeah, it was always a good time. And so even though I say that, oh, this is my favorite episode, fuck that. Tomorrow is my favorite episode. And maybe as I'm reading through it again, I'll get a clearer picture of who I see as Garrity. Maybe it's Woody Harrelson. Woody Harrelson's like a very underrated actor. I don't know if he's ever won anything, but Woody Harrelson, has he ever won an award? Woody Harrelson. I don't really know what movie it would have been. White Man Can't Jump? Woody Harrelson Awards. White Man Can't Jump was pretty good. All right, Woody Harrelson. He won an Emmy for probably Cheers, I guess. Yeah, that's what he started out as, what, right? He was nominated for People versus Larry Flint. I forgot about that one. Or what about the Oliver Stone one? Natural Born Killers. Did he get nominated for that? He was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, The Messenger. Three Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. That was a great movie. That's the same director as The Banshees of Inisherin, I think. That's a really good movie. Francis McDormand. Martin McDonough. McDonough? I don't know how to say that name, but he's a great director. Yeah. The Banshee. I think that was him. Wasn't that him? Yeah, The Banshees of Inisherin. That's a great movie. I mentioned that the other day. I forgot Woody Harrelson was in that. Three Billboards. That's an awesome movie. So he's been nominated for some stuff, and he never won anything. But he won for Cheers a couple times. And True Detective, yeah, I forgot about that. That's one of my favorite um, TV series. No Country for Old Men, no shit. Just outstanding cast in a motion picture, yeah. I forgot he was in that too. He's kind of, I don't want to say he's forgettable, but there's just other people in that movie that No Country for Old Men, Tommy Lee Jones and Javier Bardem, they just take over that movie. And he had a very small role, but he was good in that. Yeah, he was in a movie not too long ago. Some really weird movie. Maybe I can find it real quick here. Very weird movie that I actually bought because it really freaked me out in a way. Zombieland. Oh yeah, Hunger Games. He was in the Hunger Games. Um, all right, here we go. It was a couple years ago. What's it called? What's it called? Nah, it's not that one. Animal Farm? Triangle of Sadness. There you go. You want to watch a weird movie? That's very, yeah, that's a satirical black comedy, as Wikipedia states here. Triangle of Sadness from 2022. I actually had to buy this on Amazon to stream it because I wanted to watch it a couple different times because it kind of had an effect on me. Ruben Ostlund is the director and writer, with a lot of really good acting in that. It's like it's taking place on a luxury cruise ship, but it's really just kind of a political movie about capitalism versus communism. And there's a scene where the ship's going down, and it's like Woody Harrelson's character is having a debate about this. It's really good, really fucking good. It was nominated for Best Motion Picture at the Golden Globes. So it gets some love at least. It won Best Film, Best Director, Best Screenwriter, and Best Actor at the 35th European Film Awards. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Really, really like that movie. So sometimes I see Woody Harrelson playing Garrity. Sometimes I see Matthew McConaughey because maybe because they have some connection from True Detective. I don't know. But I really think it's a good role for an actor like that. Not that these people are old. I don't know how old he is, but Woody Harrelson. In my screenplay, I would say Garrity's in his 60s. He's about to. All right, yeah, Woody Harrelson 64. That's perfect. There you go, Woody Harrelson. Take over, man. Matthew McConaughey. How old is he? You two can battle it out. Whoever wants that role, you two can fight for it. right, McConaughey's only 56. So it could work for either of them, though. Both good actors. But yeah, when I get through the story tomorrow, I guess it's up to everyone to kind of perceive their own vision of Paul Garrity. But it's a wild story. It gets a little dark at the end, but it's because it's kind of about a lot of different moments that I went through in my own life around 2020, and so yeah, I'm not shy about that. I put a lot of my own mental breakdown stuff throughout this season. It's all over the place, and I'm not afraid to talk about everything I went through. Where I might have been more shy about it if it happened to me in my 20s or 30s, but I don't give a fuck at this point. Like, Frank Gallagher is my hero. That shameless mentality that frees you from all the judgment of people. People judge you only when they think it affects you, but after a while, it doesn't matter anymore. By the time you reach a certain age, you do become shameless in a way, like almost like grumpy old man, but I'm not a grumpy old man yet. There's a freedom in that, but that's not where I don't consider myself a grumpy old man or a nihilistic old man, cynical and all this shit. There's still plenty of fight within me to get to the goal I'm trying to get to. So yeah, I guess that's a good way to close this one before I start venting frustrations again. But that'll be a new type of experience as I read through Garrity tomorrow. And we're back to maybe 50 pages or so, that's all. When I read through it tomorrow, maybe I'll start picturing different actors, or maybe Woody Harrelson will be the guy that I picture tomorrow, playing the role of Garrity, because there's really not too many other characters within tomorrow's script. It's really led by Garrity and Garrity alone. Maybe a couple other supporting actors, but that's it. But we'll get there tomorrow. It's been fun. This has been a weird kind of a daze, almost like I'm having out-of-body experiences every time I read through a script. When I get through tomorrow's script, I don't know my next path. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I might start going through some of my concept albums, like Songs from the Rhine, Waitress from Mars, and a couple other ones that are meant to be screenplays, but I just haven't done them yet. But I kind of wrote them as short stories, so I might go through those or find some other new path to venture down in relation to some of the art I've created. But I'm also working on a new concept album right now that I haven't really done yet. It's supposed to be based on new wave music, so that's in my head at the moment. I just really haven't wrote most of the songs yet. I'm kind of writing it as almost like a paint by numbers. Like, I'm writing these little doodles with the song titles first, and then I'm going to write the songs afterwards and see if I can do it like that, inspired by my doodling. And I'll get to that when I get to it. It's not something in my head yet. But Garrity tomorrow, I think people will enjoy the story. It's funny, it's dark, it really paints a picture of a Black Mirror type of social media experience that, of course, it was inspired by 15 Million Merits and Network. If you blend those two things together, the episode of Black Mirror, 15 Million Merits, when the guy has that long rant at the end, maybe I'll read that tomorrow to give that credit, because that's really my inspiration, was Howard Beale and Bing from 15 Million Merits. And maybe I'll read through some of those tomorrow. Network and and the 15 Million Merits. Because there's relations. You look at Howard Beale's speech and you look at Bing's speech, even though his is from the future, like maybe 100 years from now, where we're all riding exercise bikes all day, watching pornography, and buying our avatars clothing and whatever else, yeah. So that's where I'm at. There's not really much else to talk about at this point. Garrity tomorrow, get ready for that one. I'm excited for it. I don't know if I have the acting chops to go through it because I'm not going to start like studying the script right now. I'm not going to look at it till tomorrow. I'm just going to go in it with fresh eyes and do it the best I can. But you'll see what I'm talking about. It's like a 3-page rant that I'm really proud of how it came out. I kept having to go back to it and change the word and change how I think the actor would say this and the tone. So I'm very proud of the rant I created, and we'll get there tomorrow. Thank you for listening, and yeah, we got one more episode to go, and then hopefully season two will start up soon.